they set up a fight around the top side and draw the opponent's attention to the Herald. However, even though they put their burst damage of Kindred and Silas on a single target Hecarim, but Zilean easily countered the play with his ult. And also, there was a level difference between the support players as well. And DRX, even though they played around the top lane, they have put a lot of resources on that Silas. They were not able to get the rewards, so they were a little bit getting over eager in order to get paid, and they were forcing that fight around the Herald, but Tamon Kia didn't take the bait. And DRX, because they were very behind, they go for a Hail Mary play. They set up a TP play when Tamon Kia was pushing forward, and their TP was not under Tamon Kia's vision, but Tamon Kia still feels it, maybe with their sixth sense, and the ping goes onto the Fog of War, and then Tamon Kia take their team fight position, and Bro hides behind the wall and gets onto Kingen, and Kingen, because everyone were so grouped up, he kind of misclicks and steals away that Xayah ultimate. And that could be the last thing you want to steal away from Tamon Kia's comp. And after their recent defeat, Tamon Kia actually was able to bounce back even stronger, and Khan will pick up that POG. Even though the opponents were camping top all day long, he was able to stay strong and also always stable. The most important point of this game was DRX pulled off a pocket pick, Silas a counter pick into Gnar, but at the same time Khan was able to draw all the attention of the opponents and still survive. And that was a perfect counter play into the engage coming out from DRX. Khan has been playing Sion a lot. He was on tank duty for a very long period of time, but it was really impressive to see that his sword is also still very sharp. And very high percentage of skill preciseness in this game as well. Khan is on the 4th place, climbing up the POG standing, and no bottom players, you know, none of the AD carriers or support players were able to make it to the top of the ladder. Some people say this meta is about the AD carry, the hyper carry, but I don't think that's the case looking at the POG standings in the LCK. And Khan picked up 5 votes out of 9. Now let's invite the solo laners on the side of Tamon Kia, Showmaker, and Khan for the POG interview. Congratulations on your win. Thank you. Tamon Kia picked up their 15th victory with a 2-0 win tonight. How are you feeling, Showmaker? DRX is a very strong team, so I'm glad that we were able to pick up a very clean 2-0 win. What about you, Khan? It was a bummer that we lost the last series, but preparing for the series, I knew Kingen is a super talented player, so I was a little bit nervous, but I'm glad that I was able to have a really nice game up against him. Let's get back to game number 1. Today, Tamon Kia led Seraphim through and then played Zilean mid. Even though Seraphim is on top of the tier list, is Tamon Kia preparing a counter pick into this champion? Could you tell us about how the experiment went? It's not that I learned it from other people. I just went through some image training, you know, which champion would be good into Seraphim, and then Zilean sounded really nice, and I tried it in scrims for a couple of times, and we had some decent results, and I wanted to try it on the competitive game as well, and I was able to pull off the play that I did in the scrims. Yeah, at the end of the game, you said, this is so OP and this is so fun to play, especially together with Hecarim. Will that be still viable without other jungle picks as well? What's the most important thing when you're playing Zilean? Any tips? Zilean is really weak in lane, so if you're confident about your laning phase, I think it's okay to play
말씀을 해주셨습니다. 자, 이 경기 얘기로 좀 넘어가 보자면
Let's move on to game number 2. Tamokia was able to win the Herald fight really big and was able to snowball the lead really well, especially you guys made a very fantastic macro plays. Was that a feedback after the Genji series? Yeah, after the Genji series, and also we kind of realized that we lost the last series because we lost the Herald fight so big. So we always wanted to focus on the team fights. So that was the focal point of this game and the series, and that was the feedback that we had after the last series.
그러면 탑에서 이제 오늘 레드 픽으로
Looking at the top side, we had R5 Silas into NAR. It's been a while since you saw that matchup. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of experience and information about the champion matchups. Could you break it down for us? I also played a lot of Silas games up against NAR on the solo queue. And once you pass that early game status stage, and also once you hit level 5 and 6, Silas is in a very comfortable spot. So Pyosik was trying to attack those weak points with ganks. So if Pyosik or Kingen was able to pick up a kill to Silas in the early phase, this could have been a huge problem for us, but I'm glad that we were able to win the Herald fight so big. And Khan, you mentioned that your feedback was mainly about that Herald fight, and whenever you guys had the Herald fight in both game 1 and 2, the support was always in the level because of the Zillion passive. Was that something that you guys also intended? Yes. Of course, I mean, we could see Tamokia prepared for the series so much, especially with that Zillion pick. However, with that barrel step, Tamokia was not able to get the perfect game record. How did the players react to that? When we were like 15-0 and we were taking a huge lead, I was telling my teammates this is the perfect game that we can make, but you know, Beryl is such a troublemaker, so he just went in and he just donated the kill, so I was so sad. But at the end of game number 2, you TP'd onto the Varus pit and you told your teammates not to break down the Nexus and let's keep it going. I seriously thought that I could solo the Baron, but none of my teammates were listening to my calls. I think we have to go through those problems and clean up our team kind of synergy. I'm pretty sure Showmaker has his point of view in this game is a one of a kind, but so I trusted him, but other teamates didn't. So next time I will always follow his call. And Showmaker, Tamokia actually announced that you are having a bit of a wrist injury, and a lot of fans are so worried about you. Any message over to your fans? I mean, this is not super serious. I can still play the game. I don't think you guys should be too worried about me. I will do my best to recover and play out the remaining matches with the best form and performance. And Khan, as a veteran player, I'm pretty sure you have went through this kind of occasions and you know how to deal with it. So did you give him any advice? Yes, I do give him some advice. Yes, I do. I mean, he's young, but he's saying he's having an injury. I think that's a matter of his mentality, you know. If you just have a strong mentality, you can just sit on your chair all day and play the game all night. It's all about his mindset, so I will try to, you know, get him back onto this game. Yeah, that was the mindset that I had, and that's actually the reason why I got this injury. So I don't think that's a good idea. So I will do my best to recover from my wrist injury. But I'm not trying to open a fight with him because I'm gonna lose for sure. You guys only have one match to go to wrap up the regular split, which is up against KT Roaster.
젠지전 패배해가지고 많이
Because we
팬분들
lost the
실망하셨을
Gen G
텐데
series, I'm pretty sure a lot of
오늘
fans
다시
were
이겼으니까
let
다음
down.
마지막 경기도
So
꼭
I'm glad that we were able to
깔끔히
make it up to the fans with this win.
남은
And
플레이오프도 잘
we will do our
준비해보도록
best to
하겠습니다.
end the split with on a good note by winning the last match.
정규 시즌 1위 확정은
We
비교적
did
일찍
secure the
끝냈지만은
first
이제
place
남은
spot
일정들도
of the
아직
regular
남아
split
있어서 끝까지
fairly early in the split,
집중력을
but we
잃지
still
않도록
have some
노력도 많이
schedules
하고
to go.
일종의 의미를 거둘
So
수
we
있도록
will
많이 노력하겠습니다.
try our
감사합니다.
best to stay focused and end the split on a very good note. This will be the end of the interview from Tama Kia players. I'm going to toss it back to our casters. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun, as per usual, for the translation of the analyst desk and the interview. I tell you what, those boys are just straight up trolls.
Listen.
Just straight up. I love it so much. It was just the best.
I will, from here on out, I will reconsider my POG voting just so, like, whenever one of Showmaker and Khan already has a POG, I will
Oh,
just
yeah.
vote for the other one. Like, I'm not even joking, because that was gold.
It's just the best.
It's
It's
too
just the best. Like, Showmaker's straight face saying, like, I can't believe they didn't listen to me. I wanted to solo the Baron a zillion.
And
like,
I could
oh,
have. No.
just so
Not
good.
I wanted. I could have. I
Yeah.
would have done it if
You
they
should
let
have.
me.
You should have. Thankfully, fate has a way of just coming about itself anyway, despite what you do. As DRX will be still in 5th place. This doesn't mean so much for the standings, but as you can see, T1 now with an opportunity of really solidifying that 4th place. And if Harmalife Esports aren't able to keep winning as this season continues, T1 could even get to 3rd, which is pretty nutty. I think there might even be a world where there's a chance that T1 make it to 2nd, but I don't know. Haven't done the math on that one just yet. That being said, beating AFㅅ should be something that T1 could be pretty confident in. AFㅅ haven't necessarily looked the most powerful. It's a little bit of a rough time. But ladies and gentlemen, we have about 30 minutes before that series does come around. I do want to say that the roster has been confirmed. It will be the same one that you saw last time for T1. So everyone asking about whether Fake is going to be there, rest assured, he will. It's going to be absolutely fine. So just prepare yourselves for that for the next 30 minutes, something like that. We're going to grab something to eat, and we'll see you back for that final series of the week.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another installment of Pog Poetry. I'm Atlas, and I'm now joined by the Chronicleizer, or just Chronicler, if you want to say his name correctly. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Yeah, I've been in the process of moving out of the Airbnb that I was stuck in for 2 weeks, and then
Yep.
got to stick around in for 2 more weeks. And I have now moved. Place is still fairly empty, as you can see.
You look like
from
you've
the
moved to
general-
heaven or something like that.
I know,
because it's
I
so
know, it's-
bright in the background. It's actually
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I know. It's very dramatic, the sun lighting me up as I come to bestow my poetry on the Pogstate viewers. That's what we're going for here.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly the right vibe. I'm all about it. The moving process went well. I know, like I went over and we put together a
Yeah.
wardrobe together. That was
We
a
did.
lot of fun. You cooked me some delicious soup, and that was a really good time. Looks like a really nice place. I reckon you've nailed it. You've done really well. Plus, you're only like
Yeah.
a 5-minute walk from my joint, which is cool.
Yeah, it's super close to the station. Like, and I, honestly, all credits go to Wolf here, because I was pretty stressed about like moving to a new place, because you come in, you don't speak the language, and Wolf would just like took me in his backpack, went to like 3 people, like spoke to them in Korean, and here we are. So that all worked out pretty expertly. It's really nice. I just need some plants and some more decoration, because it's still a little bit empty. I don't know if you can hear the echo, but we're getting more and more stuff in
it does look a little bit like there's not a lot going on in the background there. I do like the dangling cord that's coming out.
Yeah.
I think that's providing you with some internet. Excellent.
Oh yeah,
that's what we need.
Well, it wasn't initially, right? That was a big problem. we had to kind of figure that one out. But it does now bring me the internet, fortunately, because otherwise it's
Beautiful.
a pretty bleak existence.
Yeah, no, that's the most important thing to set up. So, we're gonna change things up a little bit this time around, Chronicler, and I apologize because I'm stealing a little bit of your thunder, but I think that this might be hilarious. I have not actually seen this poem yet that you've written for us, and what my idea is that I'll read it without any context at all, trying to do my best job, and then you can adjudicate not only my performance, but also take us through exactly what the poem represents and what the story is behind it. What do you think?
Yeah, love it. Hit it. I can't wait to see the twist you're gonna put on this.
All right, without further ado, let's get into the zone. All right, here it is. Day after day, your screen turns grey as another loss adds to the record. And night after night, you pretend it's all right. But the losses keep stacking, we have no jungle tracking. And the grind isn't very much fun anymore. But we will persist through the grit and the mist. A moment of weakness is all it takes. Our shouts will echo as their nexus breaks, no matter if they stand as 5 or stand as 10. Our sound and fury will be halted by no men, blaze onwards through trial by fire. The green wings of victory bring us higher and higher. Stuck in a sandpit and pummeled by rocks, beware of the hungry bite of the underdogs.
That.
What do you think?
No. Ah, you smashed it, and then you did the pinky thing, and you just lost it, man. You were in the zone. It was really
I don't know,
good.
for some reason I felt like I had a Dr. Evil vibe at the end there, so I just had to go with it. It was the power of the poetry overtook me.
Ruined.
You know, sometimes
man.
it's hard. I liked the green wings of victory, though. I feel like that's a bit of a shout out to our friends over at Fred at Brion, who have just acquired an extra green wing member, and now they're looking a little bit better. Is that what that one came from? Because otherwise, I feel like this one's a little bit more subtle.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I kind of went away. This one is very referential. So there's reference to music, there's reference to anime, there's reference to Shakespeare, to general pop culture. There's a lot like of hidden layers there.
I feel like a lot of it went straight over my head, so I think you're gonna have to explain a bit of it.
I mean, honestly, like I always like referential works of art, right? Like so it can be self-referential. I think this is something that, for example, BoJack Horseman does really well, where it just refers to itself or community indefinitely. but also, if you look at a lot of my favorite artists, they're very referential to pop culture or to whatever they are in at the moment. So the first 9 lines actually are basically ad verbatim a Pink Floyd song. So it has a very set rhythm.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's from one of these turns. So normally it'd go day after day, your screen turns grey as another loss adds to the record. But then obviously that's not the actual line. But that was, and it
Right,
actually
got
came
it.
pretty close, right? Like,
Hey,
because I
nailed
wrote
it.
I wrote it with that specific type of rhythm in mind. And you actually came approximately like so. That's a sign that the original song was very well written.
Yes,
if it
well, I
flows
mean,
that
it is
well.
Pink Floyd, so they're pretty good at that. They've had a few in their time.
Yeah,
you
I
could
mean
say.
that you know they have their moments.
Mm.
I say as one of as a really big fan. I think maybe first like looking at it as a whole, because I'm immediately diving into like the more nitty gritty of it. But it supports two like interpretations, and I'm personally one more where like the entire song is about the underdog experience, which is just what Liv Sandbox, AFRICA, AFREDA Brion have all been going through throughout basically the entirety of the split, right? Where you just lose, and then you lose, and you lose, and you lose, and like you just Liv Sandbox turning it around a little bit, and AFREDA Brion, you get your win left and right? But like as a whole, I don't know, man. Like if you could lose in casting and like you'd spend your entire life on like trying to be a good caster and then you just lost every game, like I don't know, that will break my mental, man.
Yeah, no, I understand.
When like, you know, when we're done casting and you get like you and me both get like one of us wins, the other one loses, like oh no, and then you just
Oh,
lose
God.
and lose.
If it was a competition every time we sat on a caster desk, I'd no.
No, that's
not
my
how
point.
That's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
That's too scary.
So
largely, it's about the underdog experience, but I think that there are some
Yeah.
other references in there as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because it can also be read differently, where you're just looking at the general pressure that a lot of teams face. Of course, there is a reference to a 10-man roster because our 10-man roster is not doing well. That I don't know what roster is going to be fielded, as I don't think anyone does. Although the internet detectives have been very diligently working on that case, but it also just kind of details the general drive that I think a lot of these teams have, and that are what really attracts people, you know, to the LCK and just competition in general, right? It's like wanting to win, which is a very base human emotion, but then it gets dialed up to like infinity and beyond, which I think is really cool.
No, it's awesome. Actually, I really enjoyed this poem. I got, you know how when you like listen to really great music or something that hits you just right, you get the weird like shivery tingle thing.
Yeah.
I had that at the very end whilst just
the
reading it out.
goosebumpies.
So you definitely deserve a bit of a shout out to that one. Don't know whether that's shared by anybody else, but I personally had a great experience. So,
well, what I'm also glad you picked up on is where the initial rhyming scheme and like the general flow of the words is it's slow, right? Like it's kind of depressing. And then as you progress throughout the poem, which is as we're ramping up to playoffs, I can find the feeling that a lot of people have is like these matches are becoming more intense, becoming like more exciting, and you can see that in terms of the phrasing as well. So you have, you know, green wings of victory bring us higher and higher, which, as you pointed out, it's 100% green wings, right? Like that's just, you know, green wings. Although the wings of victory, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is also an Attack on Titan song, and it's like something that comes back a lot there, right? So I'm like, yes, that works. But as a whole, it becomes much more. This is hard for me to translate. Like, it becomes a lot more like brazen and like more celebratory, and like as kind of an like a war song, or like something that's supposed to pump you up. And I think that contrast is really nice. And you nailed that. So I was happy about that. You kind of felt like that the lines were supposed to take you like kind of speed up and like raise your intensity.
I just let the poem speak through me. Don't worry. That's what I did. I was
synergy,
just trying to channel.
Yeah, I think in contrast to the one we did before, where it was a lot more it was very clear, like, reference this, reference this, reference this. This to me was more kind of a treatise on, you know, we've seen some crazy upsets. I think the most upsets that I've seen in a long time within the LCK, where teams that are regarded as weak actually do have a legitimate fighting shot. Because of course there's always instances like, I think Hanwha Life comes to mind, where some of their drafts are just very questionable, and sometimes it works out with Lilia mid.
Awful,
Sometimes,
I think is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that works as well. Sometimes it's just awful, as in, I think the Lilia mid wasn't awful. I think the full AD composition, like 1 damage, only Tristana 3 tank composition was a very bad example. But I think it's also important to recognize that 2 things have been happening within the LCK, and it's that underdogs actually, when they win 2-0, right? Like, it's not like just a fluke best of 1 win, but like Fred O'Brien 2-0, Liv Sandbox 2-0, Fred O'Brien 2-0 again, this time T1. Like, that says a lot more, because I think especially best of 1s, right? Like, teams win unless you're in the LEC and you play against G2, but like generally teams drop games randomly, and it just kind of happens. But when it's a 2-0, it actually says a lot to me, at least, about the form of a team on a certain day. And that's kind of what this this poem is also meant to kind of capture, is that feeling of, like, you're not that far above us. Like, you're better if you're playing well. But if you're not playing well, like, these margins are pretty thin. And you can still get absolutely smacked. And then you get, like, the shouts will echo as that Nexus breaks. I just love the moment when, like, Fred O'Brien, 2-0 dumb one for the first time, or when Liv Sandbox, like, absolutely stomped Gen.G. Like, those moments when the players are like, I can't believe this.
Bouncing out of their chairs at the end of
that
the
is that
end
to
of the
me
game,
is like,
things
that's
like that.
it doesn't get better.
That's why we do it, man.
LCK
That's why we do
winning
it.
Worlds, right? Like, that's the only thing that's better than that. But like, outside of that, I love it. So good.
No, it's amazing. I actually really like this poem because it was more of like it's more of an emotional story that's not necessarily represented in the words, more about sort of like the vibe of how it all goes. And I do like the fact that it's like moving towards something that is going to be a huge climax, because I think you're right. I think playoffs are going to be very, very interesting. I mean, we were having arguments about this, right? Like, we went out on Tuesday, we were hanging out, and I don't think anyone really knows who our last couple of teams are going to be in the playoffs. And I argued for, I don't know, an hour and a half with a mate of ours about Gen.G versus DRX and who's going to be in second place. And I was vehemently against DRX being in second place, but to be perfectly honest, they could. Like, if they keep doing their weird DRX things and just win, it could be a thing that happens. So it is it's all very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how it's going to go. And of course, our viewers at home right now are in the future compared to what is today, which is the beginning of week 8. And we could be talking about all of these underdog stories when there was an upset victory at some point during this week's games that has only just made your poem ever more relevant, which is very exciting, because I think we do have a lot of top versus bottom style matches in this week's of games.
We have no clue what's going to happen, but I think, don't pin me on this, but every week there's been at least like one crazy upset. I think it all started off when Domon Kia got 2-0 by Fred O'Brien, and like ever since, the universe just hasn't recovered from like
I think so too.
What's happening. So this split for the LCK, obviously it's been a really amazing split, because I get to be in Lore Park and I get to talk about LCK and it's like my job now, which I still haven't really gotten used to. Like, that's still kind of a process that's ongoing, but it's really been about these crazy upsets. And I think as a whole, we talked about this a lot as well, but I personally feel like, even though some of the like actual in a vacuum decisions made are very questionable when it comes to stuff like drafting, I am very happy to see the LCK progress past R5 Aatrox, right? And like just picking whatever we have picked for like the last X amount of time. And I think it's going to take a while for us to actually get good at that. But the fact that it's happening in of itself, if it's targeted, and if it's like if it's looked at correctly and it's pushed gently in the right direction, I think it's really good for us as a region, because it makes us much more versatile. And historically, our problem has not been that we're like not good enough to win. It's been that we've been super predictable, right? Like, that's just been
Yeah.
And then you meet G2
Actually,
and they're like,
I'm really glad you brought this up because Cloud Templar recently spoke about this. And one of the biggest changes that the LCK has been through is that we're going with picks that we haven't necessarily put in, 25 games on the day before, in preparation. And like, there's a lot of teams that won't actually, or in the past especially, that wouldn't actually play a champion even though it was busted until they felt like they had a certain amount of proficiency on it. Like, how many scrims have we played with this champion? How many times has, our mid laner played this particular pick in solo queue, right? Like, have we grinded enough in order to utilize this? And now people are like, YOLO, let's just do it. Let's just throw in, whatever we want to play in this instance because we feel like it just might work. And Cloud Templar was talking about it as being one of the biggest changes, and I think that that's entirely true. And I think that there are a lot of teams around the world, in China and in Europe especially, that they'll just pick stuff if they feel like it fits their composition. And in the LCK, we've been doing that, but it hasn't necessarily been working out. You mentioned Humble Life already with their pretty woeful drafting, but I think it does stem from the right idea, which is being able to pivot and utilize a lot of different things in the moment in order to, get a victory that they're looking for. I think G2 is probably the team that is the best example of being flexible in draft, even though sometimes they flex so much that they break their own arm. Like, it is still, like, I think a really, really powerful tool that a team can have if they can utilize it. And hopefully we'll see that when our LCK representative does go to Iceland. For MSI as well. Don't know who that's going to be. It's probably going to be Damwon, but you never know.
I love an underdog story, but Don Monkey is also way too good. Like, they still are.
Yeah.
So there's scenarios in which I see, like so in my head there's a couple of options, right? Like, because I think the teams where I'm like legitimately there's a universe in which they can beat Damonkia are DRX, Genji, Hanwha Life, and I think T1 as well, if they had played the entire roster with like the same roster. So maybe if they can scram like 6 weeks of experience into like the last 3 weeks, then possibly. But especially those first 3, but they're so different as well in how they approach the game. Because for Hanwha Life, it will be Chovy and Deft hard carrying. I thought we moved away from that, but turns out we didn't.
Nope.
Gen G is self-explanatory. Just if they could be regular season Gen G in playoffs, that's all. It's really all you need. I mean, we don't need to really waste more words on that one. Like, just give us.
That's all we need. We need Gen G to be the same team that they were during the regular season when they get to a high pressure situation.
Yes, that's all. And then we have DRX, who will, like you get one of those big magician's hats, and you throw like a lot of things in the hat, and then you just like go and do you find a rabbit? Do you find a composition that doesn't work? Does Pioshik find a new jungler that he can take and like run fast at people with? It's nobody knows, and I think DRX doesn't know at this point in time either yet. But they have a lot of fun and momentum behind them, and honestly, anyone that beats Damwon Kia is a cool storyline, right? Because Damwon Kia they're just so good, right? Like it'd be completely fine if they win, because I think like they have the biggest chance of winning MSI if they go, right? Like, I don't think it's even close. I don't think anyone comes remotely close to the power of that team. But it'd be so cool if it's someone else. Although then we do have to kind of like it's better for our enjoyment and the viewers' enjoyment of LCK, but MSI we just forget about MSI. Just leave that.
Imagine if it was Humble Life Esports that heads to MSI and EDG qualifies from the LPL and we get Viper versus Chovy. Oh my god, man. It would be so good. It would be so good.
Wait, it can be better.
Oh, it's getting me excited for Worlds, dude.
Atlas.
Yeah, man.
AFRICA Freaks make it through. They win in a miracle run, and then it's Lehens versus Viper. It's even better. It can happen.
Oh my god.
It's
and then somehow 100 Thieves qualifies from NA, and then Bang gets to go against his old org or something like that.
Yes, I love it.
Oh my god. No, that is absolutely beautiful. I think that will do it for the Pog Poetry section for today's show. Thank you so much, Chronicler, for coming on the show once again. It is always an absolute joy. Thank you for allowing me to butcher your poem. I hope
did
I
great.
did it as much justice as possible, and the next time I promise I'm going to be better. We'll see if we can have some more fun with it, because this is really, really cool. So thanks for being on this part of the episode. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching Pog Poetry, and we'll see you next time.
I'm pushing up daisies. 있어요.
자, 브리온이
홈탑에서 죽어버리면서 이거 또 홈탑 폭발.
한 타임 빠졌고
일단 우디로 멀었습니다.
캐드
살았어요.
이거 리스가 너무 세요.
오네사 어그로 너무 나눠 가져가는데요. 용까지 헌납을 하고
리스 지금 불쌍해요. 와, 리스.
무섭습니다. 피오라 공포 그 자체. 아드리시 강타. 파운드 가는데
근데 호응이 안 돼요. 호응이 안 돼요.
파운드가 잘 묶었지만
헤드 빅퐁.
공이 빠졌고 캐드 쪽 잡힙니다.
이런 앞에는 스폰이더라고요. 와.
자, 이걸 또 하나 생명이 잡네요.
이거 끝나지 않았어요. 리스 들어갔고.
리스 공기.
이거 지금 선수 벤치 했고요. 이거
캐스까지
끝나겠는데요?
에이스 하나 생명이 스포츠. 한 개 차이.
네. 먼저 뛰는데 클리어 대처는 좋았거든요.
헤카리 진입.
자,
근데 분노가
근데도
차서,
안 돼요.
신드라 또 잘못 맞고 있다가 이거 잘못하면 다이브 또 당하거든요.
이거 신드라 죽어요. 이거 신드라 죽어요. 그냥 달려가서 말 밟고
백팔이.
때리고 카이사 날아가면 신드라 죽습니다.
나만 갖고 있죠. 전멸 빠지고 죽었어요.
진짜 T1.
너무해요. 영호 형.
킹 타이밍 한번 살짝 보죠.
이 스킬
맞았어?
맞았어?
맞았어요.
이러면 정화가 없거든요.
정화 없는 줄이 첫 갱갱에 아주 날카롭게 잡히고 맙니다.
쓰면서
순간 이동.
정원 끝냈어요. 이후에
쓰면서
헤드.
이거
진영까지
일단
왔기
바운드
때문에
정리되면 이거 쌍방포 넘어가면 난리 나요.
캐드까지 천이까지 이거 상황이 무섭게 터집니다. 프레디 프리온
카이사 진입. 포탑에서
포탑에서 긁었고
이후에 따라오는데
슬로우 무는데 이거 바운드 빨리 들어갔습니다.
바운드,
솔직히 좋았고요.
자,
어디로?
자 진영이
그래도 로봇
리스 안 죽어. 자 리스
받았어.
끊었고
하나 먹었어요. 아들이 지금
자 아지리가 여기서 한번 버텨준 게 중요했고 리스 끊고 지금
고르기까지.
정훈 앞에
제압골 마스크 잡으면 오
프레디
프레디
프리온.
프리온 우리는 살아서 간다.
옆구리.
그러니까 먼저 물죠.
옆구리.
아까 제 방송 아닌가요?
근데 좀 짧았어요. 와, 눈치 끝까지 들어가서
결과는 조금 달라지지만 태윤까지
T1
클리어. 시간
大ヒット戦国ダークアクション2王2に完全版が登場。
私は一匹でも多くあやかしを借りたい。
待ってたぞ。2王2コンプリートエディション好評発売中。お得なセットも。
근데 정면
레오나.
위치가
근데 여기는
정면 위치가.
에스퍼가 있거든요.
여기가 어디야? 여기가 어디야?
칼 잘못 꽂았고 하지만 이거 아인 위험합니다.
에스퍼에게 다시 반격.
6렙 되면서 지금 충격받았고요. 고립이에요.
다쳤어요.
큰일 났어요.
살아갈 방법이 없어 보이죠?
집에도 못 가고.
잘 꽂았고 에스퍼는 솔방울 다 들어가.
여기저기 다 둘러싸여서 여러 경기에서 고글리 선수가 초반에 좀 꼬이고 출발하는 것을 팀원들이 풀어주는 모습이었는데
와 에스퍼 진짜 타이밍. 와 진짜 T1 이거 어떻게 피치가 바로 한번 먹을 수 있나요? 피치가
피치 달려요. 안 싸우고 가서
피치
스피드하다가
달려요.
자꾸 늘어져요.
피치 죽었어요.
이거 못 가게 하려고 피치를 잡으려는 게 아니라 그냥 붙들고 늘어졌습니다.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK 2021 Spring. This is the last match of Week 9. T1 taking on AFRICA. This is a matchup that we haven't seen for actually quite some time. I believe it was very, very early in the season that we saw this the last time round, and it had some interesting results. This was, I believe, what was one of Kanna's last matches, and he got pretty brutalized by Keen in that one.
It was, I think, a turning point for T1 because it was when we realized that T1's consistent roster swaps were not actually working out, and they were kind of a problem. And we are now at a completely different point in time where T1 has also realized that and have now fielded their old roster plus carrier, and they've been winning everything. So, you know, joke's on us, I guess.
I guess so, or maybe the joke's on them because they had the right roster there the entire time. It was just don't change it or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Let's bring up points of the match though and have a look at what the LCK thinks of this particular series. Keep the 1.07% possibility. AFRICA is stuck on a 5-match losing streak. They have not looked very good, unfortunately, and one more loss will eliminate them. We'll have actually, I believe, our first team officially eliminated from the playoffs.
And this is some Doctor Strange level possibilities that we're talking here, right? Because it's a rough one, and Dread is going to be one of the big instigators that needs to get work done here. He has been the T1 Slayer, which I think, even though like the T1 Slayer sounds amazing, when we look to actual head-to-head, I think it's like 8 and 9, which is still really good. Yeah. But that's not the type of like rankings you want to have your playoffs depend on, unfortunately.
No, very unfortunate. Faker versus Bang, though, is really cool. You know, Bang's finally back. Faker wasn't playing in the last series. It was Closer up against AFRICA last time around. AFRICA were able to topple them that time, but this is a very different T1 that we see this time around. And yeah, Faker versus Bang, always fun. That being said, I think the smart money isn't necessarily on Bang this time, and I don't think it's necessarily his fault. As here is the playoff contention graphic that we have with all of those possibilities. Nongshim, like many of us actually thought before the beginning of this week, based on their, you know, weakness of schedule, I guess is a way that you could put it, it was looking very likely that they would have the best odds, and that is in fact how it worked out at the end of the week. As AFRICA trying to hold on to that 1.07%. Oh dear.
It's a rough one, Atlas, I think is the best way to put it. It's not a lot, you know, everything needs to go right. They also don't have it in full control. They need to win all their matches, like that is pretty self-explanatory, I reckon. But then they also need like some teams to lose, some teams to win in specific ways. It's not just like not win or loss, but also the map score needs to be good.
There's some crazy galaxy brain necessary to understand exactly the route towards AFRICA's victory.
There's too many, I'd say, generally. And when you look at the stats from AFRICA, we have seen a problem with this team where even though they had like kind of a resurgence in the middle of the split, I think that they started off good early in this beginning of the split and then very rough afterwards. That turned into good early into actually leveraging that lead, and now we're back to basically the beginning of the split where they just look kind of clueless, right? Like the cohesion isn't there. The individual leads are sometimes found, and you can also see that's why that goal at 15 is actually pretty decent considering this team is in 10th place. But then actually winning is, it's a rough one, whereas T1 is one of the teams that when they get ahead at 15, it's just, I guess
they just win.
Kind of over, Yeah,
that's how it works. Certainly a lot more stable. I think the reason for AFRICA's strong early game, I think, rests almost solely on Dread, at least in round 2. Last time out, though, I mean, him on the Hecarim was a bit of a disappointment, I think, is almost an understatement, as we are going to have a look at the rosters. Here's the confirmation that is, in fact, hashtag no changes for T1. Kanaka's, Faker, Teddy, and Carrier. And it will, of course, be similar here for AFRICA as well, who did try Mapshia out a little bit last time around, but it will be Lehens starting this time out the gate.
And you mentioned Dread. I would also give a honorable mention to Keen. I feel like, while his consistency isn't necessarily there because we've seen him go from like double solo kill to not being able to actually do anything with that. Of course, he was playing Aurelia, but still. AFRICA as a whole, it's very clear. We've seen difficulty specifically for Fly and Bang in actually being able to output damage, being able to consistently match their lane opponents. And these are issues that you just can't afford, right? Like, it's fine if Keen and Dread play well, but then
the rest of the map needs to be that. And then even more unfortunately is that Keen and Dread are also not immune to the steep drop-off that AFRICA have post 15 minutes. And all these factors combined means that basically AFRICA needs to win the early game into a team that generally has better early game than them, and then also plays it better afterwards, right? So it's a tough ask, and there's a reason why it's only 1%.
That's true. We're going to have a look at our key player matchup. Carrier taking on Lehens here. You can see double the duo kills for Carrier. I don't think it matters who he's playing with either. Like, his aggression in the laning phase is absolutely ridiculous. 41% forward percentage, that's also the highest. And again, just illustrates how aggressively this guy has been playing so far this season.
And I think a key difference with which many others would consider one of the strongest supports within the LCK, which is Beryl, is that Carrier is very clearly, it's not to say that he can't teamfight, right? But like his laning is just on a whole nother level from I think every single other support we have. Whereas a player like Beryl excels in the team fighting stage, and specifically in the way he roams and enables Canyon and the rest of his team. And again, the crazy thing about Carrier is that yes, we talk about his laning, but like his roams and his team fighting and everything is also still really good, right? And that's the insane part. And it's also why on paper it seems really obvious that this roster should be really good. And what we've seen the last 2 matches from them confirms that they are in fact really good. Yeah, no real surprises there. And for AFRICA, the spirits are high, so we like to see that. I think that you need to put a lot of importance on that strong early top side, but find something that can get Prio, get Dread, a comfortable matchup, get Keen, a counter pick, and try to go from there.
Yeah, I think it's also important to get Fly onto something comfortable. For him, it should be something eclectic. The guy does like a wide variety of different champions, brought out the Viger last time around. I personally kind of liked the idea, and then the execution was not necessarily what we want. I want to talk about T1 a little bit as well when it comes to drafting. I feel like in their last series, they just completely destroyed their opposition with definitely a draft way more focused on get ourselves some good lanes and then we'll be able to snowball from there. Outside of that though, I haven't been extremely impressed with, you know, the cohesion of the drafts, the understanding of this is what our opponent wants to do, we're going to counter that with something. It's more like, let's suffocate them from minute 1.
It's brute forcing, right? And that is something that you can do against teams that are weaker than you. I would also not be surprised to see T1 go for that here, just because it works, although they are banning the Renekton themselves. So that goes a big part of that kind of strategy. And what T1, I think in playoffs might run into trouble is teams that won't allow you, right? They're too good for you to actually run over them. And that is something that I think this roster specifically has not necessarily been tested. But then again, if you think about a team with, you know, Teddy and Faker on like more controlling style carries, are you really worried? I personally say absolutely not. I think you're still very happy about that, right? If they're on form, which currently it really seems like they are. And for AFRICA, like I said, I want to see get a good jungler here. For Dread, get Keen a counter pick. They are on red side, so they can actually focus on that and then go from there.
Nidalee is very interesting. I was expecting Udyr to be banned away here by T1, and then force AFRICA to let them have either the Hecarim or the Seraphine.
Please.
Well, Seraphine's going to be banned, Hecarim's going to be first picked, and T1.
Yeah.
I guess they get their wish, but this does mean that Dread can pick up the Udyr, which has done okay sometimes into the Hecarim. We'll see where they do decide to go. I think, yeah, there's no doubt that Cuz is going to be playing the horse. Certainly has looked very good on it so far this season.
It's that or Hecarim, or that or Udyr, right? And I agree with the choice of Hecarim. I think Hecarim is the stronger jungler of the two. I think that Udyr, if you really have control of the game start to finish, Udyr provides a lot, but that is not something that I think as T1 you expect AFRICA to do. So just pick in one of the stronger team fighters that basically does everything well, right? He farms well, his early ganks are really not that bad. Post 6, he's an absolute menace. He is tanky, he does damage, he brings AoE CC. He skills decently well. It's just the champ is just really, 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 really strong. Would not be a big fan of this. I think that picking this into the Tristana is a big risk. Then again, you know, we saw last game where Damwon Key also did this, and then I was Zaya, but
there was they did it in the first game, and that was the game where Ghost really didn't do anything for a very long time.
Yeah.
You can understand the argument of Hecarim can set up for these dive bombs from the Kai'Sa very comfortably. That being said, I still just don't think that Kai'Sa is exactly the strongest pick right now in the LCK. But with the Thresh band away, it's much harder to pick things like the Aphelios or the Jinx or things like that. But it does mean that Bang is going to have a very good time when it comes to outranging his opposite number.
Alistair
carry role.
pickup, I would quite like.
Okay, Fake is thinking about the Victor instead. Okay, they'll lock that one in.
So that's an interesting decision, because this basically is T1 2 modes that they can play. They can play very far forward and aggressively, but the upside of the Victor pick is it's a relatively safe blind pick, right? Like, it's not that easy to really counter a Victor, unless Fly wants to, I don't know, look in like Vega or Zillion or something. I mean, we've seen crazy things, right? Or Vel'Koz, just to throw out a few end of the alphabet weird off-meta picks. This makes a lot more sense in terms of what the Tristana wants to do.
Yep. Good old 2012 bot lane, love it. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this is this and Udyr as well, right? So this is like AFRICA Freaks drafting a composition that you can also do in like a historic reenactment of League of Legends.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, you know, Kai'Sa, no. That's way too too modern.
Newfangled.
Yeah,
newfangled. Yeah, even Victor is too new for the likes of Udyr, Tristana, and Alistair.
Oh yeah.
Who else do they need to pick? Maybe they need to pick Ashe. You know. The OG.
Yeah, Ashe. I think Sion works as well, right? If you go like, not this Sion, but like Sion in general.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about like which the actual just oldest.
Garen.
Oh, Garen has to happen.
Garen.
Yeah, of course.
Lux, maybe?
No, Lux
is a little bit later,
new,
right?
She's too new. Yeah, absolutely.
She's so iconic now that you kind of you slot her in the same range, even though she's
it's
not.
actually really difficult for me to remember the initial roster of champions.
Was Lee there from the beginning?
Warwick.
Oh yeah.
Good old
there you go.
Blood Razor. Oh.
Top lane Warwick, you know. Listen, I was actually researching some of the newer builds, and this is on patch 11.6, so we're not going to see this. But Keen, he was playing Xin top, where he went for, if I remember correctly, the build was Ascent Reaver into Zhonya's Nash's Tooth.
Oh damn, that's great.
Yeah, no, he really, and
that reminds me of Papa Smithy's old builds on Xin Zhao and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's because he got an AP ratio, right?
Yeah. And Tryndamere, the old Voyboy special.
Oh god.
Oh, good time.
And this is an interesting pick, because this is something where you are basically opting not to play the lane, and instead you're looking to make plays around the rest of the map. Now, honestly, what I've seen so far from AFRICA, I feel like, in terms of what it wants to do, it is a very clear goal. You know, you can snowball from the laning phase. You can use the global pressure that comes through. A Shen pick, I would actually not mind here too much. They don't have a support yet. Although Gragas is like, when it comes to the tail, is just way too good. And it's also good into the Alistar, it's good into the Udyr. It's good into the Twisted Fate even, because it's an immobile champion, right?
Yep.
It doesn't
also,
have a dash.
You know exactly where he's going to be when he's porting in, so if you time it right, you can just cast him immediately out of where he wants to be.
And yeah, there was a couple of options
This
here.
would be sick.
We've
wanted enchanters to counter things like Alistair, things like Nautilus in the past, and this also denies so much of the CC.
Into an Udyr as well, like,
and into a Twisted Fate. Oh my god, this is actually just 11 head coming out from.
And it would be a carrier thing to do, right? Because carrier. Okay.
Instead, we'll just go with Maokai. Because why not? We're continuing the flex though, so I guess that's cool.
And that's a nice takeaway here, because basically what I think you're saying is we can do one or two things. I think preferably you'd put the Maokai in the top lane, because I think that Gragas support is really strong, and I think that Gragas is less reliant on farm. However, if they do something like this, they pick an aggressive topside pick, I think you do put the Gragas in the top lane, right, who will be able to neutralize a lot better than a Maokai will. Maokai's early game, I think, is a lot weaker, and Gragas is the great neutralizer when it comes to basically anything he does, because he's just super solid and there's not a lot to be done about him. AFRICA Freaks, you know, we wanted to see something that has early prio, that has a lot of map pressure. They definitely have that. If they don't win the game in the first 15 to 20 minutes, it's very, very over.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that's the case no matter what. So, no, but like, I'm not even like, this is how you need to draft as AFRICA. If AFRICA went for like a late game front to back team fight draft, like, I put serious question marks, because I don't think you're ever winning that against T1.
They haven't really had that in the past, and I would have really liked the Morgana, but it is a little bit more difficult to, get around the map and clear wards and things like that, because you are very, very squishy. At least the Maokai is going to be a bit beefier. He will also be able to go on some pretty long rides with the Twisted Advance if Bang's going to be throwing out his rocket jumps left and right. So looking forward to watching the Maokai just chasing through the air after a Tristana many, many times. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Remember Maokai Jungle where you like you got your Mobies and then you were just like zooming towards people and then people learned they could flash when you went for your Twisted Advance and then that kind of stopped being a thing because it was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
times.
times.
It's really fun to watch back because we've gotten so much better at the game, which makes a lot of sense, you know, like collectively the amount of attention and time that has been poured into this game. You'd hope we'd collectively got better. Otherwise, it would be a bit sad.
Some of the Maokais that I remember would buy like Oracle's Elixir and Mobies, and that's all they'd have.
Yeah, that's old support budgets. Or jungle budgets. Yep, that's
times.
I mean, that's also when Maokai had an ultimate that allowed him to still be a full-on tank.
That's true. Yeah.
Right, he had like the circle around him.
Yeah,
funny circle that just reduced damage, which. Yeah, that was pretty broken, man.
And also when you built full AP, the explosion damage when you turned it off, oh my god, it was so much. It was just the best. I think Maokai is still one of the better Earth champions, as Carrier has taken the Christmas tree skin as well, which I don't mind. I think it's probably one of the better ones. That being said, Maokai is definitely the winner.
I agree.
As Lahans has taken his Wrath of the Lich King skin. As this is the skin that looks very similar to Malphite.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like Malphite cosplay to me, man.
Yeah.
Huh. This is first pick for Victor. Obviously, in this split, I don't think I need to clarify that any further. And something that I always like is that Carrier, or rather that I like here, is that Carrier's gone for the tank build. We have, of course, seen, especially earlier in the split when it wasn't nerfed yet, the Imperial Mandate with like AP and Comet, which I think is still, like, even though it was nerfed, like that's still a build you can go. However, with the amount of damage we have available with like the free carries, right, I don't think it's a problem whatsoever to go for the tank build. I think it's a lot more consistent. And if you don't find an early lead, you still provide a lot of viability and a lot of tankiness, as opposed to AP Maokai, who then just kind of stands there, throws saplings that don't do anything, and is sad.
Yeah. Or maybe he's happy, I don't know. It's Carrier. He likes throwing saplings. As he's just looking to chill out throughout this laning phase by the looks. Baker's Victor pretty good so far, but he was often the guy playing the Azir in this when it was the Victor that was a thing. As there's a Twisted Advance, still level 1 here for Carrier, so doesn't really have much more to do after that. As Teddy's going to explode, but it's going to be fine. I do want to throw a shout out to our 80 carries in this particular game because they were the same 80 carries that were in the 92-minute slugfest between SKT and Jin back in the day.
Wow.
So a bit of a shout out there to Bang and Teddy, who both broke CS records that I don't think will ever be answered.
We have Elder Drake now, so no. That's basically the end of that one. Elder Drake does not allow for those kind of situations anymore.
But that means that that record is now immortal.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Like, is that actually the case? Like,
I think so.
Won't we ever get to a different state of League of Legends? This game is always in flux. Maybe we'll get to longer games at some point.
Are we going to get to a point where they have 1200 CS?
No, probably not.
Yeah, see, it's a bit of a roughie, isn't it? This was also Teddy playing Sivir, I believe, in that game, so he was mowing through the minions. But Bang was still on like 1200 on Ezreal, which was a little bit harder to get to.
Listen.
But you have 92 minutes, you're probably going to get that much CS.
Listen, man, you put Chovy in a game that's like 60 minutes, like that's enough. He doesn't need more time. I'm not going to lie, I think he'll do that easy peasy. Just need to get to a 60-minute game, which honestly, also in the current era of League of Legends, is just not a thing. And it is because of the power of these Drakes.
I mean, that's exactly why it was implemented, right? Was to stop games like that from ever happening again.
Well, you know, listen, we're the LCK. If we together, like, if we really band together and really try, I think together we can make it work. We can have another, like...
Oh, I don't know whether I want that, though, because I remember it was Papa and Achilles that played that casted that game. And are they casting the LCK anymore? No, maybe it broke them. Maybe that was why they wanted to leave. You know?
Wow. I mean, that could... You'd know that better than I would.
No, it's entirely
I don't
untrue.
feel like...
I remember meeting up with them after that game, and we were having a laugh.
Understandably.
It's not like they were too tired to hang out after that one. So I think we would have been pretty happy just to continue going for another 92 minutes. And Seth's actually very good. Achilles, sorry. Very, very good at coming in for the rough times, much like he did in Casper Cup. As Teddy's going to be lit on fire, has to flash the rocket jump here as Bang. Not exhausted anymore. That's a great stun as Teddy in trouble, but the explosive charge is there. And that is first blood going over to Bang. Carrier now in trouble as well as Cuz comes in. We're going to save the day, but it's 100% just a drive-by here from the horse.
That's a great early start here. That's who you want fed. Bang, immediately finding a killer on the Tristana. And Dread was there. But Dread was just an insurance policy. This was just a straight up 2v2 win.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why we see this Tristana so much. Like, it just wins against Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa, of course, has received nerfs to her Q. Like, maybe pre-nerf Kai'Sa would have been completely fine in that situation, but you're not winning that early all-in, and we saw the power of the continuous fighting that you can find with the Tristana once you get the reset, when you proc the full bomb. You're just really, really, really strong. And one thing that the Maokai does not provide in the early game is damage. Like later on when you can like get a lot of long rotations in, you'll be somewhat fine, but this early on, your mana costs are prohibitively expensive, and it's just really well played. Now they can set up a little bit of a freezer. Of course, it is Tristana, so actually freezing is
pretty impossible.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But you can still deny a lot of CS, build your CS lead, and kind of go from there.
It's working out so far. Let's have a look at this one more time as Lehens just goes in. This is classic. Level 3, they were a level behind, but it's still so powerful. Alistar and Tristana have just always been really good at this.
They've done it since 2012, Atlas, as you so rightly pointed out, and you see there as well. It's just that straightforward, right? Like, Teddy gets caught by Alistar, that means you're dead. Use both summoners, but doesn't actually get a lot out of that. Slow push now being set up here by Bang in the bot lane. Might also lead them with Dread's current pathing towards a possible Drake. So as a whole, AFRICA pretty nice in terms of where they are on the map and what they can do. Hopefully they will actually try and capitalize, because as mentioned previously, this needs to happen. Yes, it's good, but AFRICA have done well in early games before, but this is the type of plays you need for the 1%, Atlas. We're going to keep mentioning it because it's too good, right? Like, if they do make it.
Oh yeah, and I think that actually winning 2-0 is almost necessary for AFRICA at the same time, because they need as many points as they can possibly find. As Fly goes over, grabs himself a blue buff. We're still going to have to be looking out for Fly, see whether his first Destiny is going to work, because of course when you're about to get outscaled, it puts even more pressure on a pick like Twisted Fate to get around this map and really blow open the game. In the early stages, Wildcard's flying out here. This is of course one of Fly's historic picks, as Chaos Storm comes down in the mid lane, and Fly's just going to vacate. Yep, that gold card not quite as scary when you compare it to a Chaos Storm.
Unfortunately not. Faker has gone for the early Merc threat, so also the stun power is a little bit less threatening.
Yep.
And if Dread is there, or if Lance finds a combo and ignites him, like then you're completely fine. But otherwise, like the consistent damage from Twisted Fate in of itself is not really enough to match the Victor. I think Victor's always going to out DPS you. You're more looking to like just find shove and roam, right? Set up for the rest of your team, provide that side lane pressure, force the enemy to play close to the turrets. And at the very least, you know, the rotation comes through. I kind of wonder whether or not everyone had to rotate there, because I feel like Carrier and Teddy possibly can get a little bit of a punish going at it, or at the very least shove in the wave, and it looks like T1 is not even remotely interested in contesting this.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it from AFRICA though. They move over, Bang pushes out one wave in the mid lane, but that is going to mean that they have that man advantage. And AFRICA knew that there were two on the bottom side of the map, and so it was guaranteed that this Rift Herald was just going to be picked up by Dread. But like you were saying, T1, no real intention of stopping that, as the Drake's still alive as well, been alive for a while. This game might be a little bit of delay on the Dragons this game. As Lehens sweeps out this ward, and him and Bang will continue to surge ahead here in this lane.
Kanna's hinting towards an EP top Gragas, which I think is pretty interesting. I don't feel like you necessarily need the damage with the composition that you have.
Yeah.
It will provide you with a lot more burst, and it means that Fly basically can't play the game, which I guess is good, right? Like even more so than just the Hacker-Im. Like if there's also an AP Gragas that blows you up with a cask, then it's way worse. But in terms of consistency of your team comp, and if you fall behind, it's a big risk taking it by T1.
Well, Dread's coming up for the set play. Just going to hope to try and get a bit of a kill here onto Canna, as there's the Destiny fly immediately all the way under the turret, but that's a red card. Maybe not exactly what you want, but still Canna is going to be dead, and Keen grabs that kill. It is now 2-0 in favor of AFØ, and they have a Herald in hand to get Keen even further ahead.
Oh, Faker.
Oh, no. Faker going to be caught in transition. There's the headbutt pole. Good night, my friend. Bang says, hello. Remember me? And then picks up the kill. They will be able to come over here and try and stop this Drake as well, potentially. As Teddy's going to rotate up, and it looks like AFØ decide that that's not what they want. They've got a fair bit of action happening here towards the top side, and they don't want to risk it.
I wonder whether or not they can actually get the first turret blood. I'm not entirely sure. I think that they might have the time. There's no teleports available if King just starts hammering away at the turret. So, listen, AFØ, you're getting the lead. Like, one Ocean Drake does not compare to what we see here. Bang is getting fed. T1 is giving up turrets. It won't be first turret blood though, so that's a really big win for T1 if they can keep that one alive. Never mind, the Means actually got it in the end. I thought Hana would be on time, but as a whole, AFØ, that's a freak gold lead. That's the territory we need to be in, Atlas.
Yeah, this is the 40% win rate territory of leads heading towards 15 minutes for AFØ, but this is certainly looking like they've got their ducks in a row.
Now you've made it sound worse. Like, I'm very excited. When you say 40%, I don't get excited.
Yeah. I'm trying to temper the expectations. You know, that's my plan. As Dread gets delivered closer to Canna, that allows AFØ to pretty comfortably take this one away. As Faker is trying to get some extra vision, but Bang in the hands in perfect position.
And he knew, right? Like, the moment he walked up there, you already saw him starting to walk back, and he was like, no, that was a mistake.
Well, speaking of which, Faker down to about 100 here as Fly underneath the turret. Gets a bit of a wild card there onto Carrier, but Carrier's going to be safe for now. As Bang, rocket jumps forward. Teddy in a bit of trouble here. Bang still has the heal available. Teddy in the same position. There's the buster shot. One more auto and the rocket jump. Oh no! The flash out and the flash follow from Bang. Teleport to come in here from Faker, who wants to get his revenge. But now, oh, the sapling! Will it land on the Bang? It will be enough there, as he also had the ulti. Fly is getting chased down by Faker, but Faker's getting chased down by Lehens and Dread. The cow and the bear slash tiger slash all sorts of different animals going to be able to take him down. Now Carrier and Carl's nothing that they can do. AFØ, 5 kills to 1.
It's been a day of PvE kills, rather, Atlas, because first we had the chicken, now we have the sapling. And what we're seeing here is just nothing short of disrespect coming out from T1 and just incredibly well-portioned aggression coming out from AFØ across the whole of the map. Like, you cannot try to 1v1 the Tristana. This is literally what the champion does, right? Like, this is why you pick
even when you're not mega fed like Bang is, right?
And they already had 2 kills, right? So just a straight up disrespect. And then also trying to play so far forward with a level deficit when the rest of your team is getting pushed out of mid and being this far forward. I'm just baffled. Like, this is not something you can get away with as T1. And I'm really glad that AFØ are punishing them here, because it is very justified. Also, Faker just kind of getting desperate for this kill, because I feel like the moment you spot that Alistair and you know you're playing against a TF, like, Faker just kind of flashes forward, like presumably looking for, the sapling MVP there, presumably looking for like a play on maybe like a final laser, but like getting that greedy for a kill and disregarding your environment is not something that we're used to seeing from T1.
Yeah.
And AFØ's making great use of it. Now, I still want to kind of hold your expectations, because AFØ, we've seen them be in a similar position before. They do have a historical difficulty with actually closing out games like this. And the composition from T1 will reach a point of late game inevitability. This game is not yet over, but AFØ is answering the first question, which is win early game.
Yeah, well, there's the chem tank in. Gold card going to be there, but Fly just blows up. Does go golden, and that is going to mean that Faker dies and Fly should be all right. Ooh, the post-mortem Chaos Storm, almost. Posthumous, sorry. Able to do a fair bit of damage there to Fly, but he's going to be absolutely fine. Faker not so lucky. 0-3-0 now on the Victor. Not having the greatest of times as Carrier's found Dread, but maybe AFØ have found T1 as T1 do back away. And Keen here in the mid lane wanted to try and break down this turret as Canna just by himself on the top side of the map, just doing his best to get into a winning position, but this is rough for T1. But I like that you bring up the fact that AFRICA haven't been able to transition leads like this so far in this season. So we're going to have to see more. As Lehens, Hex flashes over, decides they don't want to go for anything too aggressive.
Because the one thing that's key to take away is that AFRICA, when they're setting up the plays, like they have so much lockdown, right? Like you see, the problem that someone like Faker has in this game is he's in the mobile carry against Udyr, Aatrox, Twisted Fate, and Tristana just jumps on top of him and Alistair, right? Like that's a nightmare scenario. Obviously, him getting caught in the river is still just a straight up mistake and kind of ties into the bigger picture of T1 not really respecting AFRICA. But the flip side of that is that if Faker gets to his 2-3 item power spike, the AFRICA composition, they also need to go in, right?
Yep.
Like they're short range, they need to go in to actually make it work later on, and that's where I feel like the possibility for T1 to flip this game around is still there, and that's why I'm like, this is looking really good. AFRICA are going to get the Drake. There is a relevant Drake coming because Atlas has been very friendly to us today.
I've been lenient today, haven't I?
You have been. I think we all collectively really appreciate it. Everyone at home is like, yeah, thank you, Atlas, you know?
Hopefully that means that we get an Infernal, because that's the most fun.
I'd agree. Although I feel like if you're AFRICA and you get a Mountain Drake, you're very, very happy because it makes it so much harder for the consistent damage from T1 to actually shine through, and it does mitigate a lot of the burst from
Well, that's what we're going to get, so...
Okay.
Glad you said that, because that means that I feel less bad about it not being an Infernal.
I mean, fire is fun. I get it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it boils down to, right?
That's why
big numbers are fun.
Every game. Yeah, precisely. Bang going to be able to take down this outer turret on the bottom side of the map. The Herald was what T1 got for it, so surely might be utilized here. As we're going to have a look at Faker dying in the mid lane. Fly maybe not necessarily needing to flash forward there, but did have the stopwatch to deny Cuz the kill. And the Chaos Storm just not quite enough to lock down Fly.
My point being that, though, if this is a Faker with 2 items, right, like Fly is 100% dead there. And like the itemization on the side of T1 is going to become much more threatening as the game progresses, as opposed to that of AFRICA, who up until 2 items are going to be like the masters of the Rift, right? Like there's no way that they should lose control of the game in that point. And if AFRICA can keep this up, if they can keep control of this game, if they can battle their demons and actually keep control and don't get caught in the side lane, don't overextend into a team fight, don't overextend into a choke point, they are in prime position to take this game #1. And
Cuz
pivotal.
Cuz hasn't actually really done very much this game so far, as you can see, 0-0-0. So the Hecarim going to be very important if T1 do want to make the comeback. But not deciding to go in just yet. Still has his Ghost available. Let's see whether the horse is going to try and do something here. Instead, he's thinking about going back home. And AFRICA just parked on the top side. Not a lot to really fight for here. A couple of minutes before the Baron is going to be available. And Teddy, you can see he's going home. I do want to shout out to Canna, who died and got ganked, had a few problems in that lane, but is very even when it comes to farm. He's been spending a lot of time sort of away from his team, just trying to catch back up. And is getting close to his Everfrost, which I believe is going to be his mythic of choice.
There we go. We'll be picking that up, and as we already had a great discussion on, Everfrost, pretty OP. So yeah, that's basically all we need to say on that topic. As
I mean, Stridebreaker is too. Both of our top winners with the 2 Buster mythics.
But on 11.6, Stridebreaker is nerfed and Everfrost is not. So I wonder what that's going to mean for the next patch. Because
that means Everfrost Aatrox. We're just going to have Everfrost versus Everfrost.
Oh my god, I don't want to think about that. No, that's really.
You stun them in your Infernal Chains so that you guarantee the Infernal Chains proc. Know what I'm saying? And you utilize all of that AP scaling that you have. You know?
You're upsetting me right now, Atlas. Like, this is, I'm not loving this.
All right, well, Carrier doesn't look like he is either. He's been thrown around like a bit of a ragdoll. There's Dread coming on around. Hobbs in full effect, just taking down some wards. As AFRICA just not pushing their luck right now. Certainly has slowed down a bit as the game. As AFRICA still with about their 4,000 gold lead. 4.5 was the lead at 15 minutes, so pretty effective. As Cuz is going to smite away his blue buff. No steal available there for Dread. Teddy and Carrier still just manning the mid lane. Top side is where Faker's parked himself. Has his Leandries now, but like you were talking about, 2 items is close to where he wants to be. And bang, getting pretty close towards his next item as well. Gravity Field coming on in here as Dread could be in trouble. The hands has been split off as the Destiny. Fly thinking about taking an opportunity, but with full information, they decide that they do not want to go in. Bang, a little bit too far.
And these are exactly the type of moments you need to avoid. As a Freaks, right, you have a big gold lead, but you cannot get caught in an unopportune position because your gold lead just immediately vanishes the moment you lose a player, right?
Oh,
so you need to respect
Shirley
that.
just denied by AFㅣ. That's very unfortunate for T1.
Honestly, like, there's no plates and I don't think it would have killed it. But it feels so bad, right? Like, imagine being T1 and you're like, okay, guys, we have a moment. Nope, no, you don't get a moment. You get to wait as AFㅅ keeps playing the game. And I want to go a little bit in, like, I talked about the break points that we might get, right? Where T1 can take over again from AFㅅ. First set of those has been hit. The one item power spikes have come through from T1. The problem is that as a whole, I think AFㅅ is going to benefit way more. They're also ahead of the curve, right? And like earlier on, it matters a lot more. So this Drake, you give up. And this is where the early Drake that T1 was able to pick up really comes into play, because if you don't have this early Drake, this game is looking way better for AFRICA, right? Because they would be looking towards Soul Point if they pick this one up. And then all of a sudden the pressure is on. Now, thanks to this, if T1 play respectful, which does what they've been doing.
Well, in goes Dread. He's going to be able to get that stun onto Faker there, who does manage to get the Chaos Storm down. Bang is going to be taken out, so 1-for-1 so far. Looks like AFRICA just want to get rid of the turret, and they will do so. As Canna finds the body slam, Infernal Chains pulls him back though as Keen flashes forward, looks for Carrier, but Canna, he goes golden. Another Destiny comes out. As you can see, Fly sees the fact that Cuz is in the area. He's going to back away, so no response there on the top side. As it was a 1-for-1 trade, but this should put AFRICA in a position to take this Drake and head towards that Mountain Soul.
Faker not allowed to play the game, Atlas. He is just continuously getting dove again and again and again. And this is where we're going to start looking at something like a Bansheesville. Add, you know, like something that allows you to just keep this man alive, because there's just nothing you can do. It's the flank from Dread here that really seals the fate. Really nice dive from the hands, very clean. Now, is this good? Sure, it's nice. You pick up the Drake, but you would have picked up the Drake anyway. And what you are doing is you are funneling gold into T1, right? Because even trades for T1 at this point in time you'll take, because they mean that you slow the game down. If you take unfavorable trades, it's very unfortunate. They do get the turret, but again, turret was basically mincemeat anyway. And as T1, your only instinct is just survive, just hold on. There's no teleport, so that ward that Faker, I don't think has spotted, is not as threatening as it would otherwise be, but you're just holding on. Next Drake, you can still give up. It's completely fine. And the range of T1, especially with like the poke build, or like Canna now going for an AP build, means that he can actually do decent poke. And then you have the Victor.
Yep.
You will actually combine with the saplings with Mandate, be able to kind of get them away from a Baron, right? And then if AFRICA try to engage onto you in the jungle, they're in big trouble.
Oh, Cuz looking for Dread. Dread should be taken down here, but he runs pretty quickly. Not going to be able to run after that though, as Teddy's going to pick up the kill onto the Udyr.
You've seen this one before. This literally happened 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? This is what AFRICA fall into. This is the trap. And it's just milling about in the mid-game and not actually having a clear plan of how you're going to win the game.
And what I think is that AFRICA, they do have an instinct at what they need to do, which is set up vision on the top side of Baron, right? Like set vision around that jungle and try and make it work from there, right? Try to get the pressure, as Bang is right-clicking real good.
Rapid fire is one hell of an ability.
Oh yeah, it's it feels very good, you know, as Tristana when you're playing against her, not so much. But what we're seeing here is, like, AFRICA, I think the instincts are correct, but the problem is, and this has been the problem for the whole split, and why I told AFRICA fans not to get overexcited, is the instincts are right, but the execution is not. You cannot just be there alone, even with how tanky you are as Dread. You need the rest of your team ready to immediately follow up. You can face check, as you did, that's fine. Cuz might have been caught.
Yeah, Fly doesn't have another gold card though, and Cuz with his Ghost runs pretty damn quick, but Lehens might be able to catch him. He gets into the brush, but that should be a pulverized. Teleport comes forward, Faker gets here. Canna's going to be there to back him up as well. So Cuz is going to survive, thankfully. Horse very, very fast. And another play from AFRICA that doesn't quite work. Currently it's under 4,000 gold the lead, and T1 really have stagnated the advantage that AFRICA has put forward. As Faker not going to be able to steal away his blue buff, as Smite does exist. And Carrier, Hex flashing out of the brush. Oh, that's a really nice cask to just pseudo-stun Dread into the wall, but the Everfrost just not long enough.
So close. So close. And if you find the Everfrost there, then all of a sudden it goes right. But the key point here is, yet again, AFRICA are not getting anything done. Right? AFRICA are just getting slowed.
Carrier has to flash over the wall. Okay. I believe that was just him charging the Hex Flash, which is why it looked like he just stopped. Spotted that Bang was walking on in there, so it does survive.
Wow. I mean, you're trying something. I don't hate it, but I hope the execution is good here, Atlas.
Yeah, if we're flipping, though, it's not exactly what you want, because AFRICA, they already had a lead, right? Maybe going for a flippy play like this isn't necessarily what they want. Keen in flanking position. T1 now all grouped up. Cuz has his ulti, but doesn't have the Ghost, as here's the Destiny. Keen trying to get in position, looking to get CC'd, though, unfortunately, as Teddy takes him down first. Now Dread trying to get out of the fight, does so with the flash. Everyone flashing to try and get on top of Bang, as Faker has a score to settle, and he will be able to take down the Tristana, and this is what we're talking about. Oh no, AFRICA, they may have just thrown it away.
It's the tragedy of AFRICA. Every single time they have leads, but they don't know how to actually work with them. And the T1 comp, yes, it's hard to engage onto them, but then if you go for a Baron play, you need the setup. You need to have vision. You can't just try and haphazardly force it, and that's what they're doing here. And with this gold lead, I think that if you go and try and push your advantage into the jungle and get vision, you can get a way better fight. But instead, like, Fly is forced to flash over the wall just to get into the fight. This exhaust on Bang means that one of the most fat members of AFRICA does basically nothing. And then T1, even though they're flanked from two different directions, somehow get a front-to-back team fight. The execution just isn't there for AFRICA. And now T1, they have Baron. They don't even need to use this Baron. Yeah. Not even kidding. Like, you don't even have to do anything. You can give up this Drake. It literally doesn't matter. All you need to do is hit your 2 item power spikes, and if this shows me something, it's that T1 will out-execute AFRICA every single time.
Well, that's exactly what's happened so far. Now that gold lead is all but gone. About 1.4k. Zhonya's is completed for Canna. That 2 item spike that you were talking about is now in for Faker. He also has his stopwatch. The Void Staff going to be very, very important for Faker to actually do legitimate damage, and now it's about getting those defensive items online. I think Zhonya's is very important. He might even go for a Banshee's Veil on top of it, unless he wants to just put together his second mask.
I'm inclined to call this one over, Atlas, and this is so depressing, but like, this is the trend that AFRICA follows every single time, and I swear, AFRICA is like 30% of an amazing team.
Yeah.
Like, they're 30, and then like, it looks so good, right? Like, the catches, the fights, the laning phase, it's all there, but then the moment they need to start moving around the map, the moment they need to start setting up vision, they need to contest objectives, they need to create openings for themselves, it's not there. They just start an objective, try to overforce, and then...
And it's so sad, right? Because this is a team full of veterans, right? You've got Flyer's been playing forever, Bang as well. Keen's been playing for a long time. Lahan's also, like, this guy's got a lot of experience. It's only Dread, I guess, that you could say is relatively new, but he had an entire year last year as well. But still not quite able to get on that same page, figure out how the macro is going to work. And T1 look to have 100% stabilized. It's going to be 3.5 minutes for that Mountain Soul point for AFRICA. Likely that T1 is going to fight for that one, but also likely that they're going to be a lot stronger. Lord Dominic's completed for both of our AD carries, in fact, equalized items.
And this is still winnable. If they can just get on top of that backline, right? If they can blow up Fetty and or Taker. Yeah.
You call him Fetty? That's actually great.
Fetty and Taker.
Yeah.
I actually don't hate Taker.
I mean, it sort of makes some sense, you know?
Yeah.
As Faker's taking back this game, and Teddy's getting fed. It's beautiful. Lahan's going to go down to half health and headbutts Faker, and now he's going to get hit back by a horse. Does have to flash there, as you can see. In comes the Destiny, Cuz relatively low. Keen gets over here as well. Fly not actually going to make the aggressive play as T1 do take down that inner turret, and immediately the Udyr is just executed. Keen tries to find some of these kills, goes gold, and the wildcards are in, but over the wall goes Carrier, trying to be that hero. Frontlining quite nicely as Fly, you are definitely dead. Keen gonna get out there with the Umbral dash, and T1 win themselves another fight.
It's just heartbreaking to see AFRICA because the the cohesion isn't there. They're not on the same page. Keen goes in, he sees the opening, he wants to go for the big play, and then Bang needs to respect so much. He's standing pretty far back, he still has the heal available, and it just doesn't feel like they're on the same page, right? Oh no. Because I would like, is he going to find him?
Well, Bang's got rocket jump, he's going to be fine. Spotted for the moment, but as you can see, Kaz is like, yeah, you can get out for now.
That's a little bit far away, and I just want to draw attention again to, we get this teleport, right? That from really, really deep in the flank. So AFRICA Freaks actually do want to make a play here. However, the problem is that yet again, the execution isn't there. It's not timed very well. And by the time Keen joins this fight, he could have literally just like come in from the other end of the jungle, right? And then Dread goes in, gets no backup. And here you see, I gave Bang some flack, but he's actually just, he can't join the fight initially because he is kept there by Carrier and his ultimate. And then Keen goes in and it's just...
Yeah, it's not exactly it's not the fight where Bang can actually get those autos, but
not at all.
I mean, then the question is like, why are we fighting there at all, right? As the river of AFRICA has now, you know, reached the shore of T1, as you can see in that gold graph. Oh man, and a need to try and build a bridge here, I think. And T1 have been successful. They've made it to the other side now. Currently 300 gold the lead. The thing that's really tough for AFRICA is their composition was going to be on a time limit anyway. They played the early game about as well as they possibly could. And like you say, just a bit heartbreaking to see what was so much potential. You know, Bang and Lahens getting fed early. Bang getting his 1v1 kill on Teddy must have been so cathartic. Being able to get that pick onto Faker also very good. They would have been in high spirits. But unfortunately, Spirit not on the team anymore.
And it is just... the team synergy just seemingly isn't there, right? And this is something that's so hard to fix because it's easy to look at. Let's sidestep that from Lahens.
Yeah, kind of throws his barrel into Narnia. 25 seconds on this Mountain Drake, and T1 have positional advantage and vision advantage.
Yeah, I mean the cooldown is 40 seconds, so I'm sure he's okay with that. Yeah, that's a lot of mobility ace coming in, that with the Cosmic Drive, so that's nice at least.
Indeed.
Okay, flip it a freak, I get that soul.
Well, Lens is going to be denied as Canna tries to throw him back as there's Twisted Advance onto Fly in the back line. The roots are coming forward, and that's going to get so much CC here as Fly completely out of the fight. The Cow also eliminated. The T1 health bar is so high as the interruption there from Canna, just beautiful. Teddy, of course, has his killer instinct available, and this is basically a wipe from T1, assuming they can take down Dread. The teleport comes in, and you can see Canna just wants to wipe him off the map. That cask is also gonna miss. When we talk about party casks, I think that one's allowed because T1 have just pulled this game out of jaws of defeat. They'll deny this Drake, they'll look for a Baron, and I'm starting to feel like it's over.
That's cause for celebration, okay? You can throw out the party cask, it's 40-second cooldown, no one cares. Dread?
Can he be the hero? I think Canna might be able to body slam him out of the way of this one. As he does so, there's the Everfrost, a lot of CC, but he's still able to walk in.
No way!
Drake! What the heck was that? Oh no! Merc Tread's completely OP, he's gonna die. And the Baron is going to go to T1. But still, that's Mountain Soul. That's cool stuff. Nice work, AFRICA. If AFRICA win, I'm giving the MVP or the POG over to Dread, 100%.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to need a moment there. I'm going to focus on this first before we dive into that. And here we see, look at Keen. Keen is actually almost able to turn this fight around as the amount of damage he does on Teddy and Faker is actually insane. However,
the CC was too good out of Canada.
Yeah, no,
the Aatrox, unfortunately.
Legitimately, Canna saved because if Teddy also dies there, then that fight might look completely different. This, however, I don't know. Just turn with two people. Just kill him.
It's like Canna's like, I'll CC him. It's gonna be fine. And then Dread's like, Hook Dread, doopy doopy doo.
You know what the worst part is, Atlas? You know what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah, that probably doesn't mean they have more of a chance.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah. That's second Baron here for T1. 1,700 gold going to be the lead. Okay, Faker might be caught out of position here. No opportunity to go golden just yet. In fact, he's just heading into the Death Chamber. Teddy's free hitting though. As you can see, Lahens, he's got the ult. He's going to keep him alive. Everfrost just slows Keen as now Cuz is booking it. Finds the Onslaught of Shadows. They eliminate Keen first. Now Lahens, no ability to go back. Oh my god, Bang's health bar. It just evaporates. And AFRICA, everyone sent to the Death Chamber. Faker says, yes, you can kill me. But remember, there are 4 other people on my team. And that's not going to be so easy, as now it's a 6,000 gold lead for T1, and maybe it's just heading towards game number 2 with a T1 victory.
A heartbreaking loss here for AFRICA. As you said, they played the early game as well as you could have expected from them, but then it's not even a caster curse, because like this is the curse of this team. This is the weight that they carry every single time they get those early game leads. They are unable to actually make it stick. They are unable to extend that lead further, and unfortunately it means that AFRICA, I don't know if this technically eliminates them, but I don't think.
I don't know whether they need to 2-0, but if they lose the next game, they're definitely done.
Well, yeah, thank you.
It's over.
Great clarification.
Yep. Faker, you saw the little wry smile, very cheeky. He was like, "Yeah, totally carried that one, guys."
You know he killed Fly after he died.
Yeah. It's the Faker global taunt, man. It still exists. It still exists. It's crazy. This is something that plagued every single international. As here are the highlights. As Faker out of position, right? And in fact, AFRICA full information, right? It was really great for Fly to turn up, try and eliminate him. Chaos Storm goes down though, and Fly goes golden, but it's still going to be a trade 1-for-1 of mid laners.
And yeah, the rest of T1 are in a really good position. Teddy and Khan already helped set that one on naturally, but this is a 4 versus 5, right? Like AFRICA use everything that they possibly have just in an attempt to kill Faker. They get in, but they give someone up, and then
yeah, it's 1-for-1,
comes in
right?
and says goodbye. That is the end of that. And then Carrier engaging on top of that. It's
just so much damage.
And we use the word heartbreaking a lot, but like that is legitimately, because I think that even worse than you're not just being able to gel together is feeling like you're within victory and then having it snatched from you again and again and again, because you could see the faces on AFRICA after that Baron fight happened, right? And they knew like it's gonna happen again.
It was very disappointing. Also probably means that game number 2 is going to be even more difficult, right? Because this, for your mentality, a loss like this is so hard to come back from. And AFRICA have showed that, you know, it's not necessarily the game 2s that they're really able to find that strength in. T1 also had that, but not with this roster, right? This roster,
oh no,
looking a little bit different. And I really do like that T1 just stuck to their guns. They were like, yes, the early game was awful. This didn't go very well at all, but they slowed the game down. They made sure that they didn't make these mistakes. They got the picks that they needed to get them back into the game, and then AFRICA decided to start a Baron, and then the game was over.
And the lack of discipline has been a consistent problem, and unfortunately in this case it also rears its ugly head as
Faker 2-6 Victor does like almost the most damage in the game, second only to his AD carry.
Yeah. I'm actually like, I'm seeing carry and I'm like, well, you know, remember Maoka
I mean, it's
nerfed.
Imperial Mandate, man. Like, come on. It does, like, the way it's coded for giving him damage is strange, okay?
No. I'm on the carrier fan club, okay? This is like, that's the man I want to iron.
No, I'm actually on the Maokai fan club. I actually
love
really
Maokai.
like the pick.
Such a dumb champion. It's amazing. But
yeah,
as a whole, I think Faker obviously out of position a little bit too much. Teddy had that one pivotal mistake in the bot lane that I think could have really cost him. Like against better teams, if you ever do that, you just lose the game, right? Like if you do it against like Ruler or Ghost, oh no, don't want to see that.
I mean, if you do it against Damonkier, then they just break open the map after that.
Yeah, then your Nexus is just like immediately gone.
Your Nexus is just like, oh no, I'm getting out of here.
Oh, I've seen this one before.
Sorry, here, have my 50 gold. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just game 1. T1 do need to do it again to eliminate AFRICA from playoffs contention. And we'll see about that game number 2 after this break.
됐다. 나 사긴 했어 한번 죽었고.
손가락 거 하트 맞춰 줘.
얘기 좀 해봐. 하트 볼게. 좋아. 탈진 있어.
탈진 있어.
좋은데?
막았다. 트리 묶었어. 트리. 나이스.
오케이. 우리 쫓아내 말고 라인 가자. 미드 차이.
백령한테 닦였어. 하나.
미드 차이 끝났어 이거 미드.
마우픽이 너무 쓰레기.
우디를 해야 될지도. 아, 근데 마우 나 오랜만이야. 아, 근데 나 이제 우디를.
난두 달 만이야.
그래. 여기서 지금 말하면 그 들어가면 안 되는데.
마우카이 사랑해. 나 마우카이 너무 잘해.
나도 마우카이 사랑해.
나 마우카이 나 500 사랑 것 같은데.
나 그라 7,800 했어.
마우카이 사랑해.
너 마우카이 사랑해?
나이스.
마우카이 사랑해.
안 하지만 다들 잘해준다.
내가 실수했다.
종민이 껌을 내가 좀 먹네. 술 껌에. 제일 못 쓰잖아. 그러니까요. 저 괴물이다. 아 태윤아, 파이팅하네 빨리. 크게 해라. 파이팅. 그렇지.
야, 초반 상호만 안 나면 이기니까 파이팅하자.
파이팅. 할 수 있어. 볼 수 있어.
야, 사람 줘. 나 키 5초. 나 렐마크 중. 천천히 맞아. 땡고. 쉔 노프레. 야, 렐 W 없어. 렐 W 없어.
아, 천천히 맞아. 나 초기가 있어.
6초.
나 살겨놨다.
아래 볼게. 나이스. 바로. 얘들아.
나 사이드 밀게. 나 사이드 밀게.
아니야, 와야 돼. 이거.
다 먹잖아.
아 천천히 말해.
나 탑 밀게. 그래, 왜 그래.
아우 시끄러.
이번에 바로 걸 수 있다?
렐 보인다. 봐줄게. 쌈 봐야 돼.
살 찍어갔다, 그냥.
나 고민자 형이야. 나 괜찮아. 앞라인.
트리 제일 못해?
앞라인.
야, 광야 뜻하고.
나왔고. 야 펜타하겠네.
펜타 가던지.
아 펜타 아니야.
아이씨, 망했네. 뭐야. 아이씨, 망했네.
아이씨 망했네.
아, 다행이네.
나이스. 했는데 누구까지 가? 프로 못 가면 머리 밀고 휴가 때 누가 만나고 룰만 하자. 그걸 왜 10등 때 거는 거예요? 시작할 때 걸면 안 돼요? 나를 진짜.
제이스부터, 얘들아.
오케이. 제이스부터 줄게. 나 내리 쪽.
아지르.
니가 잡았어.
얘들아, 아지르 봐줘.
타워 조심.
이거 막아줄게.
아지르
이 막았다.
나이스.
얘들아 좀 진정하고 천천히. 먼저 먹고 빼는 식으로.
좀만 맞아.
우리 잘 잡기 좀 힘들어.
볼만해.
야 풀로 넘어가 그럴 거면 그냥. 아니 거기까지 보면 안 돼. 오케이. 천천히 먹어.
침착하게 정비하고 다시 가자, 얘들아.
가보자.
야, 가자, 안무이 가자, 얘들아, 가자.
아지르 조심. 천천히 봐.
제이스.
제이스 오페 천천히 봐.
야, 아지르.
아지르. 야 미드 가자.
오케이, 미드. 이거 라인 타고 가자. 미드로 가자.
그냥 바텀 가자. 미드 가자.
끝난 거 같아, 이거.
가자.
나이스.
가보자.
나이스.
아니 다들 진정제 좀 맞춰봐. 왜 그래? 나 어깨 살인마라 어쩔 수 없어.
끝내자.
왜 이렇게 화끈한 거야 다들. 미안해.
괜찮아.
잘 봅시다. 첫판보다는 좀 난이도 있어 보이긴.
기계봐, 나왔어? 나 괜찮아? 봐봐, 이거. 잡아.
나의 개.
갈려.
아 나는 아지르한테 심리전 안 줘. 미안한데.
본다?
아지르 높을.
아지르 나왔어.
카드 살리고.
앞에. 앞에 높을. 나 변신 타이밍 해볼게. 앞에
오케이.
높아.
앞에.
나이스.
옆에. 좋아.
밀어.
오케이.
Let's go. 이거
이거지.
이거지.
야 끝내줘 아니
뭐야?
이게 라인
이거지.
타워치면 끝나. 타워치면 끝나.
나이스.
나이스.
Welcome back everybody to the LCK analyst desk for the last match of the week. AFRICA takes on T1 in order to keep their hope alive, but T1 was able to take a huge comeback win. So T1 had a very strong team fight comp, whereas AFRICA had side lane comp. So Hecarim and Gragas together with Maokai was able to open team fights really well. And AFRICA had a lot of strong lane picks. Tristana is a stronger side on the champion matchup up against Kai'Sa. And AFRICA they were able to get super ahead with the performance of their bottom duo. However, they were not able to close out the game once again. They did lock in that Twisted Fate. However, T1 had Gragas as their top, Maokai as their support, a really good champions that can counter the setups and teamfight attempt coming out from AFRICA. So AFRICA needed to, pull off some unexpected play on the side lanes. Indeed, T1 really had to stay strong during the laning phase, but AFRICA was going really hard and they were able to pick up a lane kill on the bottom lane. Alistar and Tristana both used their E skill, so Kai'Sa was one minion away to hit level 4 first. So she was actually stepping forward because most of their opponent's skills were down, but Alistar was actually able to find human knockup with his combo, and then they were able to clean up that kill. And because of that kill, Tristana and Alistar got super fed, so they were able to shove in the wave, rotate to the mid lane, help their teammates get the Herald, and then they rotate down towards bot. And their wave was getting shoved in under the turrets, so they didn't lose too much of a CS, so they were able to get the push priority once again. Clear the wave, they kept their priority really firmly on their hand and then rotate up once again in order to get that scuttle. And also AFRICA was playing under their around their top side, so Tristana and Alistar, because they were so strong in lane, they could freely roam around the map. So Victor was making a rotation towards bots. They were able to easily punish that roam play. And also we saw the reason why AFRICA confidently locked in their bottom duo pretty early. Lee Hans and Bang were able to keep picking up solo kills, and great engages were up everywhere on the map, and AFRICA was able to get a very huge snowball, and they wanted to speed up. So let's take a look at the second highlight where they tried the Baron in order to draw the attention of the and we had another AFRICA's 25-minute syndrome. So they had the lead in their hand, but they wanted to stop Victor getting slowly fed, so they forced open the team fight based on the power of Everfrost, Rapid Fire Cannon, Twisted Fate. However, fantastic reaction coming out from T1 was there to block their attempt. T1 Twisted Fate set up his ultimate in order to wrap around T1, but Victor's gravity failed and Maokai ult zoned away the rest of the AFRICA players. T1 is always getting stronger with their solid lineup, and POG will go over to Keria on Maokai support. I was a little bit perplexed that Maokai support locked in by T1 because this champion got nerfed for a couple of times, and also his team fight initiation is not that strong, but actually T1 had Hecarim to take the lead and Maokai to answer back to the attempt coming out from Africa. Freak's Twisted Fate wanted to always open fight with his range priority. However, Maokai's ultimate was always there to just counter his action, which means none of the Africa Freaks players were able to follow up. And they kept winning teamfight over and over after 25-minute mark in the game. T1 was always just taking the fight that Africa Freaks were opening, but still they were able to win every one of them. And 6 votes out of 9 were picked up by Keria with his Maokai performance. Africa is so close to falling off the cliff, so they really need to clean up their issues for game number 2. So let's head over to the second one.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, as per usual, for the exemplary translation of the analyst desk. And here we are for game number 2, and potentially Africa's final game with any playoffs contention remaining. That 1% is very quickly slipping away. And after a game 1 loss, I think it's like 0.2% now or something.
And you can see the faces, right? And like you never should read too much into it. I feel like you don't know what's going through the players' heads, but those type, I said it before and I stand by it. I think that it's better to never have a shot than to have a shot and then lose it. And that's the position that Africa has been in for the entirety of the split.
Yeah.
Like, there was that there were a couple of weeks in the middle of the split where it actually looked like, you know.
I'm glad we get this full focus just to make sure that there's no head lice or anything like that. Very clean hair.
You
I
know,
like it. A little bit dry, but otherwise,
I'm glad that you interrupt my point to point it out, because I would have missed that. And that's actually that's
the important part of this series.
Listen, we care about the scalp health of our players. You know.
I'm really glad that you're on the same page.
Yeah, naturally.
And can confirm, Canna, everything totally fine when it comes to the scalp. Maybe that will help him in his lane against
me. We hadn't seen him for a while, you know. We need to do scalp check just to be sure.
Yeah. And he made it very easy for us as well.
Yeah.
And here we are into the pick and ban for game number 2. I don't feel that bad interrupting you, just because we are talking about some just depressing Africa things. And let's see whether this can be a little bit more uplifted Africa things. Senna going to be banned away. They have the blue side this time around. And Seraphine, of course, taken off the board. I wonder whether T1 will just ban Hecarim next. Wouldn't mind it, to be honest.
It's such a hard one, Atlas, because I like the game plan. The game plan was not the problem in last game. Like, not at all. That was a good early game, right? With a strong and really oppressive mid-game, honestly, that they were able to just consistently find. And then when it came down to it, it was as always with Africa, the follow-up. And that's what, like, I don't know what you do here, because I think if you don't draft early game, I don't think you're going to get the lead that you got, that you did in this series. And then you can try to go in on even footing against T1, but I don't think that's the avenue to victory. Maybe that's the angle they'll go for, because it's clear that if you don't close out the game with that early lead, I don't know if you go for another early game draft, because I feel like it's so hard, man. Like, you can hear I'm wrinkling my brain, like trying, what can I find? Is it racking my brain?
Racking your brain?
Yeah, I said wrinkling my brain.
Well, that's a Hecarim first pick opportunity here for Dread. That being said, Dread's Hecarim was not the greatest, even if his name is in his W ability. The Spirit of Dread was definitely not a spirit that Africa wanted. Maybe Africa wanted the old spirit back. Actually, as Keen thinking about locking this one in, he is going to be able to do so. As Canna, let's see what T1 have as their response, because of course, obviously, I assume that they knew that Hecarim was definitely coming through. Kai'Sa once again, much to the chagrin of a former LCK commentator somewhere. And let's see what else is going to be locked away alongside it. Rel is going to be paired and pretty comfy.
Rel's open. So pick Realm. It's a straightforward one. And with the Tristana ban, you're also not as worried if Zaya or something gets picked up as a Freaka, then you know, you don't have as much pressure, but like you're not afraid about the laning phase at all. And I gotta be honest, Atlas, I feel like what we're gonna be seeing here is a repeat of the second game between Donkey and DRX. I think that T1, right, like they're in the first series they were calibrating, right? We're like, okay, listen, how good is a Freaka? Early game, really good. They didn't respect it at all, and they got justly so punished. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen again in the next game. I think T1 is going to play much more respectful. As I like the Alistair lock-in for obvious reasons. It's fairly decent into the rel. It also provides you with strong follow-up, additional front line, and then Alistair Zaya, it's not great. It's not bad, right? But it
doesn't feel good. It's not like a, now I understand what they're doing. It's a, this is what every other team drafts in this position. You see the Kai'Sa, you pick the Zaya. I don't know. Also, not a lot of lane power in comparison to what they had last game, so being able to find those early advantages is going to be more difficult as Cuz. Going to go back to an old favorite here in the Nidalee. We'll be locked in now, AFRICA, with some opportunities to ban away some top laners that synergize quite well. And T1 likely to look towards that top lane as well to make sure that Canna gets the best matchup he can possibly find. Does mean that I think Gragas likely a ban. On T1's side.
I certainly hope so. I mean, you don't ban it as T1, right? Because you can just pick it up as R4.
I don't think they want it as much.
I mean, I still think
Nidalee Gragas doesn't feel great.
It's not amazing, but there is still setup, right? And if you go as tank, then it's not as big a problem because you still have a lot of utility. And I think that the real value of the Gragas is just you have an uncounterable champion in the top lane, right? But that is if you want to give a kind of pick over to mid lane. You can also say, listen, Kana, you're playing into Keen. Keen can be a very scary top laner. We don't want to put you in a situation where you like put on Nard duty or something, although with these bans, I would not be surprised if Freak are looking to pick it up themselves. Because now Jace and Aurelia are both gone, so that's already looking pretty good. And while we're on the topic of hair, blonde or black hair, Teddy? Ooh, because I miss blonde, but I'm willing to give it some time to see how I feel about it.
You know, I liked blonde hair, Teddy. I think it's fine. I don't know. I think whichever one makes him happy.
I mean, naturally, right?
Totally okay. There's the Twisted Fate ban, and the follow-up will be the Gnar, taken away from Canna. Now, where is he going to go? I wouldn't mind Camille. And we'll see whether that is going to be a decision that he could make. Blind, though, so it might be a little bit more dangerous against someone like Keen, but Jace has been taken away, so one of his power picks into some of these more risky top laners. Certainly.
Volibear, it's not amazing. And a blind pick, Zoe. Considering what we saw Faker do on Zoe last series, no one will be sad about this.
After the DRX series, I will allow Faker to pick Zoe at any point ever. And I think that's totally fine.
This tells me that we're going to see like Cyan or Ornn on top. Non-ironically, I think that...
I'd actually really like Ornn personally.
Yeah, because I think that if you look at otherwise, what you pick would be a Jace, right? Like, it'd be very on theme. You have a lot of dive, and then at some point you go in and you play aggressively. I don't love the Victor into a poke composition. Like, yes, Kai'Sa needs to go in, but Faker, or rather Cuz and Faker really don't. And I think that as Victor, like, it doesn't happen often, but in this scenario you get outranged, and Afrika has a comp that wants to kite back. But a kite back comp works well into a comp that's looking to dive on you. But this is a poke comp, and obviously if Kana or if Rel wants, you can go in. Like the sign pickup though, because this kind of creates a problem for T1 where actually does it? Can I not just pick Cho'Gath and be happy?
Yeah, I mean Cho'Gath could happen. I mean T1 have a lot of options for the top lane. They could even put together a 4-1 comp if they would like, as Canna is going to lock away the set.
Okay, so I quite like the set into Cyan because there's a couple of things. Obviously, slamming Cyan into an enemy team is basically a one-team fight. That's
like
one.
Bajillions of damage.
Oh yeah, no, it's not okay because bonus health, you know, makes Setzel better. And what does Cyan get for free infinitively? Bonus health. So that one makes a lot of sense. You also have Shred built in, and Kana can opt to go into like the straight-up tank buster builder where you go for a Blade of the Ruined King into a Stride Breaker generally. Although in this lineup, I also wouldn't mind if he went for a more tanky route, maybe just Blade into then, you know, Chem Tank and then provide some more initiation. As a whole though, I like the Afrika team comp. I do have the feeling that once you get to the late game, they have a really strong front-to-back team fight, a lot of engage. But I don't know if T1 are ever going to fight you on even footing.
I also don't know whether T1 will ever let you get to a late game with a composition like this.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah, this is some pretty classic T1 drafting for early game power and trying to make that one happen. I think Cuz has been very good on the Nidalee. Him and Faker work very well together with bubbles connecting, and then the Nidalee comes through and does a bajillion damage. Scary times.
And I haven't even talked about this, but obviously this side also works great with the Nidalee, right? It's not as oppressive as a Renekton, but it still provides dive, provides setup, provides a mixed damage profile. So a lot of these things still apply. And as a whole, well, it's kind of flipped now, where if T1 don't find an early game lead, I think they can still be okay. But generally, like with a poke opposition like this, that's really reliant on finding the damage through your two mid and jungle players, right? And spears in the bubbles, then falling behind against a sign is just basically a death sentence. There won't be a mountain soul though, so that's nice at least for T1. That's not one you ever want to go into, but I'm considering a last game. I'm pretty sure that what we're going to see here is T1 just take control early, find a couple of key kills, and then completely choke a freak out of the game.
Yeah. The thing that's going to be difficult is Keria finding a lot of value. Like Magnet Storm doesn't exactly have all of that synergy that it often gets. As Spear going to connect there onto Bang. That's a good start for Cuz as the Crab Rave comes through, of course.
When we saw Rel initially, it was she was considered really good at more of a peeling position, right? Where like you just keep people away from your carry. And I can still see Keria do that very well here.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily, doesn't really need to engage, because believe me, a Freaker will engage for you. Like that's all they're looking to do. And then all of a sudden, the knock-up, the Magnet Storm, the Attract Repel, just provide safety for the rest of your team, and then maybe you can make it work that way.
Oh no, Lehens with a 0-5 Alistar win rate. Very, very sad for a player that has been very good on the Alistar in the past. Dread also 0-2 on this Hecarim, and Keen for the first time picking up the Scion. As Canna's just waiting for him to attend the lane.
Oh, Canna also went for Grasp, which is not something you see super often.
No.
I personally would have imagined that he might go for the Conqueror, which is something you see a lot, especially into tanks.
Well, there's the classic answer to the crash down, as Keen getting punched.
The early auto resets that you can get with the passive from set, combined with your Q, is really, really nice. It doesn't have Q yet, of course, but just the general threat of that early game is just not great.
Oh, that Facebreaker was just beautiful from Canna. But answering Q going to be there for Keen. The problem here for the Scion is the fact that Canna just, with his grit and with the passive, like, oh, just so much health regen. You can see just passively more and more and more. So he can take a lot of these decimating smashes, and Keen is going to be trading a lot of mana bar straight into Cuz, and unless he can actually get enough there, Canna is just going to be immovable. As another Facebreaker is really nice. Haymaker picked up second from Canna is going to mean that Keen's life continuing to suck a little bit.
And it's going to for the foreseeable future. I'm really interested to see what build Canna's going to go here. Like I said, there's a couple of avenues that he can go, and it's going to say a lot about how T1 wants to approach this game. However, what you are doing here is you're getting, with this proactive trading, you're getting Keen really, really low. And that's a good sign, because if Cuz then decides to pay a visit to the top side, you have a sign that is prime diver materials. That's a pretty insane win rate, right? Like that is actually...
Yeah, I mean, this is what Bang played alongside this gentleman here in the mid lane. Just played so many games of Zyre. And when Teddy started picking up so much Zyre, I was like, is this just a T1 thing? If you're a T1, like bottom lane player, like you just have to play Zyre over and over again? Because, yeah, Bang has put in quite a few games on this champion, and for good reason. Certainly was one of the premier champions that he played during the Ardent meta as well, to bring back a bit of a rough time for a lot of fans. As Faker, yeah, he gets back to the lane. Of course, Fly still has his teleport available, and he might just die here as he flashes very late. Interesting. Don't know whether he was ever going to die there, but better to be safe than sorry, I guess, as Faker will just try and get this shove.
I think with the Gold Ring active as well, I can see it happen where Faker just goes in for like flash auto Gold Ring active and then just kind of kills you.
Yep, potentially.
So, as a whole, Canon actually able to stack up a big wave on top side, and that causes like, I'm out. I'm not actually going to be able to get a lot done here, so I'm just going to peace out and continue clearing my jungler. However, Faker, no such restraints.
Nope, you cannot start this this potential dive because you have 100 health. Faker is going to find Keen. There's the flash. Haymaker comes down, flash forward, and that's going to be first blood very easily here for Canna. Can Keen actually grab him? The answer is absolutely not. As Canna's going to be able to get out. That's a very nice roam once again from Faker. This is what he's been showing us. Like, you don't even need a jungler on the top side of the map because Faker's just always leaving his lane.
And this is, when T1 looks good, they look like this, and I would not be surprised to see more attention going. Your lane is also pushing away from you as Keem, right? Like, you're in a position where you know the lane is going to push into Kana, who has also answered my question. We'll be going for the cam tank here, presumably. So not going for any, you know, more aggressive shenanigans. Really just looking for the early game prio, the early game dominance, but then still building to be a tanky mid-game teamfight threat, which with the amount of damage he has on his team, I can get.
Yeah, well, Spear is going to find a minion, unfortunately, and Keen, without flash, is still just going to stick around and going to be okay. As in goes Carrier, gets the Pulverize out from Lehans, misses the Q, unfortunately.
And that's a cool adaptation that we've been seeing more and more from Rels as people all get more comfortable with the champion. Faker, though.
Yeah, has to flash, actually.
Okay.
That is the real one. Does find the bubble, is Dread down to about 50%, but still very successful.
Which is crashing down as your default state of being, as we see Carrier do here right now. Because then if you mount up, like the Alistair can't actually do a lot about you, and you can just flip him over, hit an attraction repel, and get a cute little trade in.
Well, there's a headbutt Pulv as Carrier in a bit of trouble here. On the horse, will still get stunned as Blade Caller not exactly going to do it, as now Cuz looking for some spears. Control Ward goes into the brush because unfortunately going to miss that one, as now the horse is here. The other horse now going to have to try and get out of there, sitting at about 400 to 500 health. Not exactly going to be the most healthy. Is Fly going to come over and make sure that this Rift Scuttler does go over to Dread, as Cuz not wanting to let this one go, as Faker comes on in. We'll see whether they can actually grab this kill as the bubble does go wide. Crashdown comes forward as Faker. Portal jumping over, but has to come back. Dread's still going to be traded most likely. Oh, but no, the Pulverize is too good. Double kill for Fly. Could it be the triple as the Blast going looking to get Carrier out, who remounts and is now trying to escape. Will he be able to do it? Crashdown going to be back off cooldown, but nope, not happening. Fly going to pick up 3 kills in the team fight, and maybe also this this blue buff, and I say maybe, he's definitely getting this blue buff. This is a huge start for AFㅅ once again. Disrespect's coming out yet again there from T1. They're trying to throw it all over a Rift Scuttler, Atlas. That is not the way to go. And I'm not going to lie, I saw the performance from T1 coming in over the last couple of matches. I was like, okay, I'm actually expecting a lot of this team now. And then I see this, and I'm like, okay, guys, listen, there is a lot that needs to be cleared up before playoffs, because this is not it. And it starts with this play being set up. This isn't intention a nice bait, but Cuz anticipating a sidestep there from Bang, which Bang does not go for very clearly. Bang's just like, haha, no, I'm out of here. Yep. And that in of itself is fine. Faker, you don't have that much health. Carrier has like half health. Cuz isn't actually there. Just a weird, over-aggressive play that doesn't actually, even in the best case scenario, like I think that it's very high variance. And now you're behind with your Pocom. Yeah. That's not good. I shouldn't need to explain why, but Victor getting fed this early is immeasurable big problem, as Lehans, these roams, man. Yeah, Dread's going to come through here as well, as there's the showstopper, but I don't know whether Cannon can do this. Oh my goodness, gets a big shield there, but you can see Cuz throws a spear and says, nope, I ain't going to be able to help you there, buddy. And now AFㅅ should be able to head over to Shelly and lock this one down as well. This gold lead moving towards 1,000 and maybe beyond here, as the plates are going to be locked in as well after Shelly does come through.
Now with this draft, SC1, now you're basically hoping for a similar position as or a similar situation as in game number 1, where really, regardless of game state, AFRICA will find a way to beat themselves. Because this time, I think the AFRICA comp is much more favored. They have the hard engage required to deal with the T1 comp, right? Because T1, they want to shell from afar, or they want to single someone out, blow them up, and then fight on uneven footing.
And that's going to be very, very difficult.
Well, yeah.
We have hard engage options from absolutely everyone. Is Dread looking for Faker, but not going to be able to find it.
And that's why, like, that's not a play you need to go for as T1, because if it was Drake, maybe, right? But it's just a scuttler. It really doesn't matter. And falling behind early in this game, if we hadn't just seen game number 1, this would be the kind of situation where, like, well, I don't know. But we have seen that it's more about how these teams will actually play to their win conditions. Because if AFRICA play well, I think they have a really good shot. Nice X-Flash there from Lahens, who is more than ready to help out his buddy. And these roams from Lahens has actually been really good. I've been very happy to see him really regain his form in the half of the split. And it's kind of this trio especially, like it's kind of the tragedy of AFRICA that will individually look good. When it comes to actually winning games, all 3 of them still show a lot of weakness.
Yeah, that being said, Fly keeping up in farm very nicely. Largely due to the fact that he picked up those 3 kills.
Yeah.
Bang as well, actually leaning quite nicely here at the same time as Dread looks for Cuz. Wants to be able to take down these chickens as Cuz is going to get smote. And yeah, Dread is just pretty big. On the Hecarim right now, 1-0 and 2. And not a lot that Cuz could really do to answer that one right there. And level advantage going to be helping out the horse as now Faker underneath this turret. We'll have to contend with Fly taking this one down. Shout out to Wolf, of course. This is the Zoe turret. Is Keen going to get thrown underneath the top lane outer, but he just walks away and he'll be absolutely fine as well.
Yeah, that's the downside of not going for the Bladed Rune King build. Obviously, in terms of team fights, you're going to have a lot more presence. You're going to be able to make a lot more plays, going big with a showstopper, and then still stay alive to get a big Haymaker shield. But when it comes to the 1v1, you do give up a considerable amount of pressure. And here we see the unfortunate reality is that thanks to those 3 kills and the subsequent pressure, Fly in a smashing spot also got given over a lot of the plate gold, which is where this entire gold lead really comes from.
Yeah.
T1 did find 1 Drake though, and we can still be looking at a Cloud Drake, and then it's like
it'll be my first of the day, so
I think you're okay, right? Like it's fine. And not for AFRICA, however, who presumably are going to be the ones that should have like prior over the Drakes relatively soon, because this comp has been accelerated to a point where I feel like T1, they're still okay, they can still find that moment, but it's more about T1 finding mistakes from AFRICA and AFRICA making mistakes. However, so last series, it seems like more of a question of when AFRICA will make the mistakes and how egregious they will be, and that's not a good place to be in, even with a comp and a gold lead like this.
Yeah. And remember, AFRICA at this stage last game had a 4,000 gold lead. Now it's only 2. T1 are basically ahead. As Canna will find a bit of Haymaker damage there, but Keen is starting to get pretty tanky now.
He doesn't
as that sidestep not enough from Canna. Yeah, no, you're not going to break the face of this Scion, my friend. As Dread behind this blue buff right now, Cuz not wanting to give this one up without a fight. As you can see, fair bit of vision here for T1. Bang's rotating up though. 4 versus 3 at this point in time as Faker still in the mid lane, and Fly's just going to wrap around, steal away a blue buff very easily. As, okay, Void Seekers, the poke is landing, but it doesn't really do all that much as Lahan's not going to find the Pulverize there. Just going for the headbutt. Ow, that one hurt.
I was just about to say Kaz's spears this game have not been super on point, but I held my breath for a little bit there because I figured the moment I say that,
you thinking about it, Caster blessed him. So,
exactly.
Kaz going to say thank you. As Faker going to land that bubble nicely onto Dread.
Might I cast back your mind to a game against DRX?
Okay.
Where T1 was also in a disadvantaged position. And where Faker was playing Zoe.
And then finds some magnificent bubbles, like that one, collected here by Dread. Paddlestar going to connect once again, Cuz no mana. Area's turned up as well, as now Teddy looking for Bang. Fair bit of damage there. Very nice. Teddy not really under too much threat, as Faker just going to wander through some gravity fields. And yeah, this set not necessarily working out 100% right now, as Keen's getting some decent poke onto this this guy on the top side.
Yeah, so the thing... Oh, Teddy.
Yeah, teleport immediately coming in. Teddy can flash the wall and does so immediately. Attract Repel connected, but not going to be enough, of course, to save his life. Didn't have the killer instinct, so couldn't use that to get over instead.
It's a rough one, Atlas. Like I think if this was the game number 1, I would feel much more comfortable about talking about like what AFRICA needs to do, which in this case pretty straightforward. You play aggressively, you go in hard, and you blow them up, right? Like this is a squishy team comp on the side of T1 with the exception of Set. Carrier is going to be somewhat tanky, but you should still be able to chew through them pretty quickly with your fed Victor. And Bang is just on par with what you'd expect, right? He's getting pressured a little bit, but you don't pick the Xayah to do well, and then you pick her to just farm up and then be a huge threat in team fights.
Yeah.
Drake needs to go over there, and most importantly, I'm just looking at AFRICA and like, how do they play around objectives? Like, do they set up the vision? Do they respect? Because if they don't, and one person gets picked off, then it doesn't matter what gold lead you have, T1 will be able to find a way back into this game.
Well, T1 weren't able to find any plates, and now AFRICA should be able to take this Ocean Drake. Sion just makes his way back up toward the top side. It is going to be an Infernal Soul. So
oh boy.
There's no clouds, not a cloud in sight.
It's a bright day. I'd even say.
It's beautiful.
Right, it's beautiful, and it's good news for AFRICA Freaks, who might just hope they're able to kind of defend this here. And the thing about Bramblevest against Set is it's so incredibly strong because Set literally, like, he gains his trading value against you by just
regen.
Yeah. And not only that, but also like by autoing you, right? Like that's how he wins trades. It's just using his Q auto reset. And now T1 is playing a Pocom from a huge deficit, which is the worst feeling in the world because
and it's
as we
once again this big gold advantage. At 15 minutes for AFRICA, they've done it. They've done it again. At which point do we actually start thinking, oh, AFRICA are going to be able to win this game? Is there a point ever that they're even allowed to think that?
I will not, personally, and that's kind of upsetting, but also makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen AFRICA be in these positions time and time again. However, I feel in this specific scenario, this comp gap is actually insane.
It's pretty nutty. And like Hecarim as a champion is very, very good. And T1, straight up front to back, like you were talking about, just going to be really, really hard. But, you know, Teddy's farming well. Faker is still doing okay.
And that's my point. But there are scenarios where T1 wins. If Kana finds a big slam, right? He locks up Bang with a face breaker after having slammed the sign into and Teddy ults in, blows up Bang, goes away with Supercharger. Right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, one of your damage threats is gone. Same thing can happen to Fly. These are the type of scenarios that we're going to be looking for.
Well, there's the train as Keen looks for Faker, doesn't find him, gets the flash out though. Now Kana looks for the backline. Carrier in a little bit of trouble here, not able to get out of the decimating smash. There's a lot of CC now, but Carrier has to flash. Gets a lot of heals. The Chaos Storm following him as he's so slow, but does make it to relative safety. Keen taking so much of this aggro as Teddy. That was a little bit too aggressive potentially, but is looking to try and make his way out. Dread not hit by that bubble, and now it's time for re-engage, but maybe it's actually not, as there's a beautiful face breaker from Kana. Hatemaker keeps him alive. Lahen's in trouble, has to flash the wall as the Scion will be taken down. Faker's not letting the cow go as Fly is hit by the bubble, and Faker doesn't have enough mana for a Battle Star. Oh, that was heartbreaking, but T1 gonna win the fight and now looking for even more.
Why are they hard committing when Bang is in the top lane?
I thought it was so good because Baron wasn't up yet. They chose to find a different way. As, Bang is gonna be able to now turn up and grab a kill onto the set and demonstrate exactly why they probably should be fighting with him present.
Oh, this is such a deeply upsetting game there because look at how long it took T1 to actually get through the Sign health, right? Like, think about how long that took.
Yeah.
Imagine if Bang is there.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with either team here because I think that, listen, engaging here is fine if Bang then decides to rotate to the rest of the team, right? And like, here, they're still trying to disengage, so it makes sense that Bang isn't there. However, the moment this happens, still arguably okay, here you can kite back, but there is a point, which I think I'd say it's here, where like, why do you keep committing? Why are you, AFRICA, why are you continuously going in forward here? You're missing your main damage dealer. Yes, you have Victor, but that's not enough. And like,
chilling on the
listen,
top lane.
and you can look at Bang and go like, Bang, what are you doing? But this is a team call, and this is the problem every single time with AFRICA, and this is why we're so hesitant to call this game over. Even though, still, right now, like, this is not a sizable gold lead for T1. They won like one tiny battle, but it's moments like this that give me no, just, oh man,
Yeah, no,
just
it's sad.
no faith in AFRICA, because it's, who makes the call to keep fighting that, to keep re-engaging, to keep in the skirmish without your AD carry there? You can't do that.
Well, now we're looking for a potential another fight as the red buff is taken by Keen. Over the wall is T1, but Shirley's going to show up.
Oh, Canna.
This is going to be a lot of map control for AFRICA. As, yep, Canna very, very deep flank. As we've got 18 seconds on this Infernal Drake. Infernal Soul going to be so important for both of these teams. And T1 not wanting to give that one up without a fight. Canna still,
oh no,
just lying in wait as now Bang. Oh dear, this is not what you want. Look, it's so...
And he's there.
Yep, he's still there, guys. Carrier looking for his option. In goes Canna as well. It's pretty good as the face breaker comes down as well, but the Rel's going to be taken out first. Teddy into the back line, looking to try and clean up. And he is going to be able to take down Bang. Canna somehow still alive. The cow's going to be taken out here as Teddy. Can he actually get enough damage down? Canna's still trying to fight this one out, but the Scion's massive. And now Teddy has to contend with everyone. Cuz flashing forward, but AFRICA stand their ground and wipe T1.
And here we see the edge, even with a perfect find there on Fly. He's able to stay alive for so long thanks to great use of his Zhonya's. And I got to question the decision not to go for Bang, because I feel like if you hunted to zero in the Featherstorm, it's way easier before he can Featherstorm Redder. Instead, Kana does go for Fly, who is indeed more fed. But what you see is the moment he gets slammed down and the face breaker doesn't even get used initially, a lot of damage comes through, but it's not actually enough. Teddy can't join that fight, and even when he does, that's like half a second there where he's feared by Dread.
Yeah.
Those half a seconds, those matter. Those are super relevant and are what kind of creates a really big problem for T1, because if Bang dies a split second earlier there, Teddy can get off a couple more autos, maybe he can actually find Fly, because this time the front line is just too beefy, it takes too much time, and this shows why AFRICA, it's so crazy to me that I have to talk about this like AFRICA is not favored, because they should be Atlas. If you just joined, right, if you're like, why are they talking like AFRICA is not, like what is going on? And you have to understand like the position that the team was in was similar in last game.
It was.
Yes, the compositional gap was not as big. This composition literally plays itself, right? We see it there, it's a front-to-back team fight, you have two main damage dealers, stand in front of those.
Yeah,
That's
and
all.
a lot of the agency is in Keen this time around. Like, he's the one that's able to frontline so effectively. Even in that fight, yes, Bang got cornered, but then Teddy was unable to hit anyone other than Keen, or potentially Dread for like a few seconds, but Fly was completely safe due to the fact that that big Scion body was blocking him from being able to walk forward.
My problem is, I think once Teddy has 3 items, he just solo wins that team fight from that position with the space that is bought for him by the rest of the team, even though he shouldn't be allowed to.
Potentially, yeah. But let's see whether Bang, on one of his, more famous champions here, can possibly do the same. I want to believe. I do want to believe. As Carrier's going to dive forward. Oh no, Fly. Caught out of position. That's a fair bit of extra damage, though, as now Dread looking for his way in. Fly is going to keep himself alive for a really long time. Eventually he does fall down, but it's a 1-for-1 in the end. Cuz also going to die as Canna has a lot of grit built up, but now Bang's going to come through and look to try and take him down. The face break is good, but it ain't good enough. Keen's going to be able to grab that one, and now Faker and Carrier looking for their opportunity. AFRICA with 4 members still alive, now around this Baron. I don't know whether Faker and Carrier can do it, but maybe there's an opportunity. They say no, and Baron also going to be taken down. Maybe it's time to start talking about the AFRICA victory, because 23 minutes in, it looks like this Baron going to be absolutely secured, and T1 haven't been able to team fight at all this game.
I'll believe it when I see the Nexus fall.
I mean, I understand. I definitely understand the apprehension.
I think AFRICA fans should do so, but what we're seeing here is promising. T1 continuously are now getting increasingly desperate. They're continuously overforcing on Fly, who has Zhonya's, which he uses here like he did last time. And I would like to see T1 try to shift away and go for Bang instead, because I feel like you have a bigger chance of blowing up, because the itemization coming in here from the Victor as well is Verdant Barrier, Merc Freds,
Yep.
and Zhonya's, right? Like, which is just, and now he's Bansheesville, like he's just not going to die. Whereas Bang, yes, he has Featherstorm, which is annoying to deal with, but at the same time, like that's it for survivability. And I think that the amount of time that Fly can stall is a bigger problem. And if you can just kill Fly and then get out, then maybe you're fine. As a whole, though, the reason why T1 is having such a difficult time is because their comp should not be in this position, in this game, at this point in time. Like, this is a comp that you play from ahead, where your poke is incredibly oppressive, and then once you see the moment when the iron is hot, that's when you move in. That's when you go for the big play. I don't know if that's going to happen here, though.
Yeah, it's hard to find those opportunities now. 6,000 gold is the lead. 7. I tell a lie. Very close to 7 anyway for AFRICA.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Sometimes the calculations are just a little bit difficult. Just simple subtraction can be very tough for a man like myself. As okay, AFRICA, 4 members looking for a bit of a siege. As Dread off to the side. There's a wave of wards here that he's going to be able to clear. As the mid lane going to crash in, Dread's just going to keep them buffed up. Looks like T1 have been relatively successful on the defense as Keen takes 0 damage. Bubble's going to connect. Flies Banshee's Veil now down. Aurora the Slayer not going to connect, but neither is the Paddle Star.
And you can sense that AFRICA, like we know, right? Like that they have had some issues. Nobody knows this better than AFRICA themselves. They really don't want to take a risk. They're playing it safe.
Yeah, cute double knock up there as Cannon's going to take a fair bit of damage. Into the back line goes Dread, though, as he's getting taken down very, very low. Has to ult defensively now. As Voidseeker not going to quite find the mark, but they have zoned out effectively enough to take down that turret. Faker still just looking for any opportunity to take someone down. Not going to be able to find it just yet. And that is just going to be a free inhibitor taken by AFRICA. Carrier looking to flank around.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, this is the Infernal Drake that T1 are looking for. Not wanting to let this one go over to AFRICA to threaten that soul point. It's going to give them so much control. That being said, I mean, I don't know what T1 are going to be able to do. You can see AFRICA all grouped up. Some low-ish health bars, but they're not low enough to be really happy about the situation. As Keen doesn't quite find anything with his ulti, as Dread also a little bit by himself, as Canna doesn't find the face breaker.
Carrier doesn't find the flank. They need to back off.
Yeah, Dread, he might find his. No ultis available at all for AFRICA. Now Canna, he's just going to get locked down. Shield is pretty good. Facebreaker as well. Does ulti to get into the back line. Is Bang in a lot of trouble. He is going to be executed. As there's the headbutt pole onto Teddy. He's taken down as well. And now it's Faker, the last remaining damage dealer. But he has to flash out. Cuz also, I guess, has a bit of damage. But he's also running for the hills. Flash headbutt pole. And that kitty cat should be taken down. The horse probably going to win this battle. As Onslaught of Shadow is going to be used. Not a lot of damage here available in between the cow and the horse. As Blast Cone just going to be taken down so that Cuz can't use it. And he's bouncing away. This is taking a really long time. And he will die, but, you know, bought a lot of time.
This is not what you want to see as a T1 fan, but as an AFRICA fan, you're thinking 1%, Atlas. 1%, it's still possible, and honestly, okay, listen, guys, I know, if I curse it, I'm sorry, but I think this is the point where as AFRICA fans, you're like, okay, we can look towards game 3, right? Like, this is just, you see the amount of effort put in by T1. I'm actually surprised that Kana didn't just try and smash Keen into the rest of that team there. Because I feel like he was maybe waiting for a carrier play, but instead they wait a really, really long time. Health bar's already low. And there is a reason why we don't see tank set nearly as much anymore. It was considerably nerfed, right? Like, yes, it's still beefy, but the damage from your Haymaker is not nearly as relevant. And even though they blow up Bang, you only need one damage dealer, and that's Fly, and Fly is completely fine. Again, goes for the defensive play, and that adaptation from Fly to just realize, okay, guys, in game number 1, it didn't really have a big impact. I'm just going to build defensively, right? Like, look at that.
8-1-7, dude. This is like the biggest Fly has ever been in 2021. It's massive.
And you come into this game as T1 and you see game number 1, and we did this as well, right? We're like, guys, this, you know, like they have an early game draft. They're probably just going to run over them and end it there.
Yeah.
And then T1, again, they don't respect. And what I expect is that AFRICA are going to win this game, and T1 is just going to say, okay, we just draft straight up team fight, right? And this is why I said earlier, legitimately, non-ironically, AFRICA might be one of the best early game teams that we have within the LCK. And it makes no sense. I know they're lost place, right? But every single time, I'm starting to feel like we should stop saying people disrespect AFRICA and just AFRICA create opportunities for themselves, because they do it against literally every team. Is their post 15, 20 minutes game not great? Sure.
Yeah.
But you see that the early game consistency is always there. With this team comp, early game consistency is all you need. And right now they're looking poised to take this game and keep the 1% dream alive.
Fly does a lot of damage. Ticking over to 30 minutes and the Baron has just spawned again. Some vision now being put down here by T1, but AFRICA still own most of their topside jungle. And this Baron is a very long way away in the dark for T1. Keen just going to be a brick wall in this mid lane. Bang, pushing out topside. His bubble will connect, but it's only onto an Alistar, so there's no real response. This inner turret will be taken down. It's dire straits right now for T1. Is Cannon going to rotate over? Teddy just tidying up these super creeps that are flooding into the bottom lane. And AFRICA, maybe it's just time to move back to this Baron, start this one up.
It's time though. Look at the vision.
Yeah, it's much better. Like, it's very, very dark. And this is AFRICA that have done their homework, right? Certainly a much better look for them. As, look, Dread now gets in from behind them. They don't start off the Baron as very feared is Teddy. Not quite dead just yet as the heal does come out. Canna trying to be huge on that front line, but unfortunately, the Rel and the Set, both of the engaged tools just obliterated by AFRICA. And what do they have to show for it? Some half health bars on their tanks. That's about it. Of course not on Keen, because he's basically immortal at this stage of the game. And AFRICA just going to march it down the mid lane. They already have that bottom lane inhibitor that is up again in 8 seconds time. You best believe that is going to be dead immediately. As T1 looking to try and defend their Nexus turrets. Could this just be the end of game 2? Have AFRICA actually done it? And moving us to a full series here against T1. I was definitely not expecting it, as Cuz going to be taken down pretty comfortably here. The Xayah also destroyed though, as in goes Carrier. Can we actually save the game, T1, as Faker does have an extra flash for himself. Fly going to be obliterated. Teddy has a triple kill now.
Teleport!
Yep, we're looking for Dread, who just backs out. He's like, I'm getting into the enemy jungle. Let's see whether I can survive this one. This should just be Baron for T1. Oh God, Chronicler. Have I cursed it completely?
No.
Surely not.
No one curses AFRICA but AFRICA. let me tell you, Atlas. Honestly, yes, this looks bad. I don't think it matters. I think T1 is going to get the Baron, right? And like, this is a Hail Mary team fight. This should never happen. And the fact that it even happens in the first place is absolutely ludicrous. As we see here, the problem, what do you do here as Teddy or as
Faker, right?
Faker, right? Like, there's a reason why Hecarim is so strong. Like, this man runs you down no matter what. And then there's also a Sion.
Dread. Okay, Cannon's going to hold on to this one. And yeah, everybody else is streaming out of the base, but T1 will be able to grab the Baron.
Listen, because you need to win this fight. You've done that. Okay, your Nexus stands. Now, you need to win the next fight.
At the Infernal Soul.
Because there is an Infernal Soul, and you can't give that over, because then you guaranteed lose the game. Then, once that's done, you need to hold on, win 5v5 team fights again. The comp from AFRICA, straight up, you know, you're in a vision, you don't have...
Teddy has cool items, though.
It shouldn't happen, but the fact that we believe says enough. That is possible, right? Like, I mean, collectively.
I mean, everything's possible. I don't know whether it's T1 winning, but I think that AFRICA have showed that they can...
Surely not.
Oof. I don't want to say it. Oh, no, as, yeah, T1 actually just going to move down this mid lane, look for that positional advantage, as Infernal Soul is indeed going to go over to AFRICA.
Okay, they're going to go for the game and push, right? Like, they're trying to catch him out of position.
Yeah, is this actually going to work, though, is the question.
Shouldn't.
They are out of position, and if a team is out of position, that's when Zoe shines. Lehens has to use his ulti very early. Keen, decimating smash onto one, and still, AFRICA haven't been able to get back into position just yet. Inhibitor turret does go down, and Teddy's just free hitting on this inhibitor. It will just go down. AFRICA, no response. 2 inhibitors still dead on T1's side of the map. There are streams of super creeps heading towards this one, as that's a teleport. Carrier gonna crash down as Zoe gets back to base. Now Dread looking for Cuz. Keen had teleported in as well. I think they're gonna give Cuz up for the Ghost, as the Rel also going to be dead. And Teddy still backing. Oh my goodness, this is so dangerous.
That should be it, Atlas. I don't think they can defend 3 versus 5.
Yeah, especially when Can is desperately trying to find his way back. Teddy looking for Lehens. Lehens finally flashes. I think he was looking elsewhere. Teddy now having to deal with Dread. He's looking for the back. I don't think there's any way Teddy gets out of this one, as now he's looking to chase down the Hecarim. Yeah, you're not going to be able to 1v1 this Kai'Sa, but all he's trying to do is stop that back from happening. Onslaught of Shadows comes in, and the fear is real good. Faker has a stride breaker. And Teddy once again going to get denied. There's the showstopper into the backline. Lehens might die, but the Nexus turret is going to be taken down. Another back going to be attempted here as the Nexus is so extraordinarily low. There it goes. AFRICA toppled T1 in game 2.
It's a valiant effort for T1, and we hold our hearts till the very end of that game.
Oh, man.
But AFRICA freaks, dude, they keep the 1% dream alive. If you just tune in, this is
do or die.
This is do or die. This is a huge upset, and this theoretically keeps the dream alive, right? And like, I need to. Oh my God, this is so hard.
Oh no! You give me that original shit.
No.
You give me that.
I don't.
He 100% deserves that. There is no way that you're denying Fly his POG.
Listen. The man was given a triple kill. Okay, like
he was, and he took it.
Listen, it was given to him politely.
Fly was 8-1-7 at one point in that game.
I know. Okay, you were right. You were.
You know,
listen,
I think he deserved.
Listen, I think it's for the redemption. Right?
Maybe Sion deserved it actually though, because Kane played very well.
I don't know if Valdez is watching. Never will I vote for a Sion. It's not happening.
It's not happening?
Listen, T1, I think this is where you say, okay, screw it. We're just going to draft a team fighting comp, and then we can always win, and we will, because we're T1 and they're AFRICA. Because my God, I don't. This breaks the color caster, Atlas.
No, I get it. And look, the Hecarim wasn't banned as well. I think T1 knew themselves just how strong that pick was. Kaz had a great game in game number 1 on the champion. Dread was 0-2 on the pick before, but I think now you have to pick it away, which they probably will if it's left up. If you're AFRICA though, ban it, force T1 into something else, and maybe, just maybe, they can do it again. We'll just have to see.
I like that you're smiling, and I'm just like... I don't.
This is the time where you don't want to be an analyst. You just don't. You don't want to be an analyst. Post game breakdown. Is now upon us, and let's have a look at this damage. Oh my God, Teddy doubled Bang's output, but didn't actually eventuate to anything because, of course, you know you've got an Alistar, a Sion, and a Hecarim. They're going to sponge 30k pretty comfortably, and the same can't really be said for the side of T1. No real frontline canna. The tank set experiment was, look, it was conclusive in the negative column, in my opinion.
Just pick Cho'Gath, you know?
Cho'Gath would have been.
We like Cho'Gath. We know what he did.
He could have even picked a Camille and split pushed for the victory as well. I think that having a split pusher in a poke composition could work.
Yeah, but then I see the hard engage and like Hecarim, and I'm like, actually, I don't.
Hextech Ultimatum works pretty well in those situations.
That's true. But like. Then you're fighting as Camille, right? Which you can do, of course, but listen, we're getting bogged down in specifics. T1, just draft a team fight comp. Like, don't draft early game against AFRICA, because apparently AFRICA are just the best early game team. I guess we learned that today.
Yep, and now they've actually won a game from the early game lead as well. They've had a lead in both of these games so far, but we're still going to a game number 3. So we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, it will be that analyst desk as well as G-Sun's translation, and then that coveted game number 3. Don't go anywhere.
카이사 천천히 따라갈게.
그냥 계속 가봐.
카이사 어딨냐?
카이사 아니야. 몰라.
조심해봐.
가.
가자.
야 카이스트 옆에 카이스트 옆에 카이스트
됐어.
이거 내가 비행 끝날 때까지
그냥
이거
끝냈다. 알리도 알아.
이제 바론 버프라서 못 끊을 것 같은데.
쓰면 조심해.
이걸 끊었어.
카이사 궁 있다 진영아.
없어.
없어. 오케이.
계속 끊을게 내가 그냥.
끊은 맞았고.
끊었어. 계속 끊고 있어 이거.
끊어봐.
렐 8초. 이거 해 타워부터 우리 무조건 타워부터. 타워 칠게 그냥. 타워 칠게. 타워. 넥서스.
아 이거 넥서스 이제 크리사 직한다. 직모가 지금.
넥서스.
카이사 피해.
We are back after game number 2 between T1 and AFRICA, and they finally stopped their losing streak, 11 game long losing streak, and now AFRICA was able to pick B1 Hecarim. So we were wondering what could be a counter strategy that T1 prepared, which was set for Kana in that last pick on the red side. Set is one of the champions that has a very high synergy together with Italy on the top lane as well. And in the second rotation of the ban, a lot of AD top champions got banned out, and then T1 had Zoe for their mid lane, which means Kana was put to that AD melee damage kind of champion. And this time around, he took Grasp instead of Conqueror, which means he was looking for some teamfight power and sustainability up against AFRICA's sustained damage output. And Seth can also create some synergy together with Rel as well. And T1 had to poke the opponents and make the opponents dive onto themselves. However, AFRICA had a very solid comp, and they were not falling to that Zoe's mind game. And we had a very stylish teamfight pulled off by T1 and AFRICA players, and very close skirmish pulled off by two teams. They were walking the fine line. So Hecarim clears that scuttle and then activates his ghost, and because this horse is just too fast, he sidesteps that Sleepy Trouble bubble, and then Zoe also dodges that Hecarim ultimate, going really back and forth between two teams, and then Dread once again was able to walk away from Karia's engage, and also that spear, and locks down that kill onto Faker. All 10 players in this game were very sharp with their mechanical performance, and then Lihan joins this fight like a hero. And now it was Fly's time to lock up triple kills after finishing Kyria in the end. It was a very stylish play and high-level mechanical performance pulled off by two teams. Now let's take a look at the second highlight, where AFRICA once again was flexing their flashy move today. So Seth cleared the bottom lane wave and looked for some hide and bush kind of a play. So he was able to find that Victor walking up, but Bang Zaya immediately reacted to T1's combo, and Dread. Hecarim was also 1v2ing against T1's damage carries, and Hecarim's ult fears to people, which was super critical because Kai'Sa ulted in while getting feared. And then it was just Victor's time in order to just clear out all the kills, because this champion can do a lot of work in team fight, and also a nice and flashy flash away from the Nidalee jump in the end with some style. With this performance, AFRICA with a very desperate play, they were able to even out the series, and the POG will be secured by Dread on Hecarim. It was everywhere when AFRICA had their actions and kills, and Dread is truly the strong link of AFRICA's roster, and he needs to get things going for the team to win the game. A very stylish and high level of performance and skill maneuvered by Dread in this skirmish as well was really on point. Even though T1 was looking for some massive teamfight attempt, well, Zaya was able to survive even longer than everyone expected, and then Fly was almost intact from the first half of this fight, which means they had still another damage output in order to wrap up this fight. And Hecarim is definitely stronger than Udyr. That's our conclusion about our analyst. And once he gets fed, he can always dive onto the opponent and still eat up so much damage. And then also put damage onto the enemy damage carries as well, which is a huge counterplay. And Hecarim canceling the recall of Teddy was really critical for T1 and also helped Africa Freaks to close out the game. And Dread picked up 7 votes out of 9 for this POG. And let's find out what is this going to be Africa bouncing back to keep their 1% hope alive.
Thank you so much, Jason, as per usual, for the translation of the analyst desk. I guess I owe you an apology.
I'm glad you guys can't see it, but I'm glaring at Atlas because you know who I had on my paper after seeing those.
No, you had Fly, and
those,
then you redid it.
After those last couple of team fights, I wanted to
you
vote
got
for
a new
Dread.
piece of paper. That's
and then I wanted to give that paper over to Atlas. I was like, no, give it to the victor.
I mean, they heard. It was on the broadcast. I actually feel like, you know, Fly has had the best performance so far this split in this game, and I think he deserved at least a vote.
Listen, you know, it's okay. I'll forgive you. It's
and
fine.
actually, you know, the man that you wanted to get the POG got it in the end, and there's no difference to what a POG is worth. Based on how many votes.
That is true.
So
at least
it's all fine.
At least I didn't listen to Valdez because he would have had me vote for Keen.
And to be honest, look, Keen played some immaculate meat shielding. He really did very well. Him interrupting Cuz in one of the skirmishes that we had highlighted there was actually really beautiful to watch. That being said, he's Scion, and honestly, AFRICA just draft gapped T1 way too hard.
Oh yeah.
It was very difficult to cast though, right? Because AFRICA, it feels like almost every game is throwable, right?
Yeah, like that's, it was really hard because AFRICA always find a way, but not in a good way, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's always close and then not quite it, and this game it was it, right? Like they had the teamfight comp, they had the triple tank into poke, which that's about as good as it gets, if you ask me. And what I'm hoping to see here is AFRICA looking for teamfight comps again, I guess, because they win late game regardless, or they win early game regardless, but mostly T1, please pivot. Please allow yourself to win the game post 20 minutes if you're behind.
Yeah.
Because we saw in game number 1, you can just do that. You're good enough for it. We even saw in that game, which looked absolutely doomed, that Teddy, like his, I don't know what that was, I think it was his Jin Air genes that kicked in, and he was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's like,
up.
I'm gonna stop this back. I need to kill the hens. That being said,
yeah.
I don't think it would have made any difference to you know, whether he was actually there trying to defend that one Nexus turret when there were 2 inhibitors dead. So you may as well just try and stop there being more people bearing down on your Nexuses. Sending going to be banned away here. The Rel taken off the board here by T1. This is exactly the same bans that they saw last time, as T1 banned Nidalee in the 3rd place.
I'm okay.
Trist this time.
Listen, now there will be a Seraphim ban, and T1 will... Oh, this is really good, actually, because now T1 gets either Hecarim or Seraphim. And now what AFRICA does is they leave both open, so maybe they ban like Kai'Sa or something of the sorts, and then you get the other one, right? You trade broken champions. Don't ban...
I'd ban Gragas, personally.
Yeah, that works for me. I quite like that.
Or you don't ban Gragas as well, and then T1 has to choose one, and you get Gragas Hecarim or Gragas Seraphim.
Works, yeah.
One of those things is Xayah going to be the ban here.
And that means that you lock in... Oh,
I think Hecarim has to be the lock-in, right?
I think the one thing... I think Hecarim is super broken, but I think the one thing that's more broken than Hecarim is Seraphim.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, literally, the one thing.
And plus, it's Faker as well, and Faker has actually played some very good games on Seraphim so far.
Listen, like, in any other scenario, if you give up the Hecarim, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that one, guys. But this is Seraphim. It's okay, right? Like, they can lock in that Gragas and their Hecarim. It's fine, because Seraphim is there to carry your team fights.
But maybe Bang locks in Misfortune and builds Serpent's Fang.
Oh my god.
Could you imagine?
Listen, hey, if
he saved it all this time.
If they want to go R5 Misfortune, right, and like Hecarim Misfortune, maybe throw a Galio in there, like I can see it.
Well, Hecarim had to be locked in, but, and there's Kai'Sa, so I guess, you know, you win some, you lose some. T1, let's see what they're going to take away here to finish off their first round of picks. Answering the jungle here is a little bit of a worry, as we'll see where Cuz is going to go.
I mean, you know what's open, right?
I think Graves would be fantastic, personally.
Because he just made it through draft.
That's true.
I mean, I
Not
listen,
a gigantic fan of the Udyr
I'm
these
not the
days.
biggest fan, but Cuz has had really good impacts on Udyr, which if you have impacts on Udyr, that's for me a sign that like I'll trust you conditionally, but I'll trust you.
Yep.
And also, Olaf and Udyr just become a whole different champions when Seraphine is in the game.
Yeah, true.
Right? It's just like it's basically Orianna on crack, where just having that champion in your team makes run at people champions a million times better. Honestly, you know what this is setting up for? This is setting up for a B5 Sivir from Teddy.
Oh, yes.
Listen, legitimately, I'm not even joking. I see this, right? Like, you
Hard
have
to play
you have
Sivir
the front
into
line.
Alistair, actually. 'Cause, you know, the spell shield not so great. You headbutt in, and then you have to time the the spell shield so beautifully.
I guess never mind. I don't know.
It's a toughie.
I think it will be, knowing T1, it will probably be Kalista then? Or an Ezreal, which also would be very on theme. And it's actually good into Alistar. I think into Hecarim, it doesn't matter what you play, because you will always be sad, because Hecarim is super broken. But on the plus side, T1 seems to have recognized that, listen, if we have a draft that can actually teamfight late game, then we should be fine. And the Gnar in this scenario is something now T1 can ban out the Irelia and the Jace, which are two of the more popular counter picks. Right, you ban those out, and kind of should have Prio in that lane, should be able to really assist Cuz, as it's an interesting one, because I guess you can argue that something like the Irelia, playing it into
playing
Udyr
it with
and Seraphine is not great. Like, I think that kind of makes sense.
And Ezreal Kalista likely to be the bans here, I assume, on Afrika's side.
Okay.
As, look, we'll have to see. I think Gragas might be a decent ban here as well, because, of course, you know, as far as, you know, the damage range and things like that. Plus, Fly has played the mid lane Gragas, so it is very flexible if they were to lock it in. But there's the Victor being taken away. A lot of respect given to Fly there in the mid lane after his performance in the last game.
You know, they can even... So
I was talking about the next ban. That was the final ban anyway,
It's
so
okay.
I'm just an idiot.
I forgive you.
It's relatively late in the evening, okay?
It is, and also, I feel like these games, even though they haven't all been super long, they have been... oh my god, into Seraphine. They have been complete emotional roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I really feel you. I love this pick. Cannot get... Oh, no. Oh.
Is this happening?
Oh, no. Teddy's
Space
also like,
Vayne
no,
versus
no.
regular Vayne?
I'm not seeing it. I'm also not seeing that. Oh.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh god.
probably not
Where
it
are
either.
we ending up with? Are we going like Samira Leona?
Ooh. Ah, it's Tom Kench 80 carry. Perfect. There we go. Nailed it.
It's it's Cancerphelios then.
Yeah,
like that actually
or
makes a lot of
Jinx.
sense.
Kench Jinx is also fine.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that as well. I think actually now that you mention it, I think Jinx makes more sense, like in terms of the effective range that you have against the comp. But the thing about Aphelios is that I think that he plays better when people like turbo engaging on him, which is definitely what's happening because we have turbo cam tank on definitely one, possibly two characters. And in that context, I like the Aphelios a little bit more. I think the Jinx as a pick as a whole is a lot stronger. But into picks that want to like dive deep on you, you have the peel from a Tom Kench, you have the healing from the Seraphine, you have the Uncle for additional protection, right? Like, there is a sizable front line. This is the kind of comp where you actually can 1v9 on Aphelios. Because the Afrika comp, they go in deep and they go in hard.
Well, there's the Zillion. This is another one of Fly's champions. I was wondering whether it was going to be the Viger again. But this time, Fly is going to take a leaf out of Showmaker's book and lock in the Clock Gentleman in the mid lane.
Listen. You know how earlier this night we had the question, which is more broken, Seraphine or Zillion, and the answer was Damon Kia?
Yeah.
Okay. Tonight,
now we get to answer the real question.
We will get to answer the real question, which is what is more broken, Seraphine or Hecarim and Zillion? I'm not, you laugh, but like legitimately, I feel like the Hecarim, it's such an insanely disgusting pick right now because we saw like what happened to Teddy's health in the final team fight.
Yeah, man.
That was just a full tank Hecarim jumping on top of him without a speed boost, without a chrono break that he's definitely getting this time. But on the flip side, T1's composition, they're somewhat gated by cannot have his Magnar available, but they can actually team fight, right? Like this is a composition that actually can make it work. And I do think that in terms of priority and early game prowess, this composition from AFRICA is a little bit weaker. On the flip side, I think the skirmishing, especially with Silas and Hecarim, if they find an early lead again, they can be super oppressive. How these games have gone thus far, I think this is going to be fireworks. I don't think this is going to be over soon. I think we're in for, as they say, a banger.
Yes, well, no need for the hashtag LiveEvil on that one, because Bang is now back in Korea, taking on his former teammate Faker in that mid lane.
I didn't even mean it as like a bang pun.
But it always is.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. We respect that. As Keen also with another decent matchup there towards the top side of the map. We saw for Kingen didn't quite work out, but we've seen Keen win this matchup before. Not this year necessarily, because he hasn't been playing very much of the Silas. But this is something that, you know, he used to be very good at. Silas went through a bunch of changes. Now making a little bit of a resurgence, as we can see. And now Dread is just going to be so enabled on this map. Having Encores on both sides of the Rift as well, I think really does level the playing field just a little bit more.
It does to a certain extent. However, I feel that while the Encore is like, it's a super good ultimate, and you basically have, I guess you have two, right? Because Kench is useless. Udyr is self-explanatory, like doesn't do anything.
Turn into a phoenix. Hell
yeah. I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually know how it works when you steal the AFEI's ultimate. If you just get like,
you don't get to follow up with anything,
no,
so
but
it just does a bit of stuff.
Yeah, and then but also like what? Yeah, you don't get any of the effects, right?
Yeah, I feel like you steal the guns that he has at the time, and that's what's gonna do it.
Like that.
But often it's about like the follow-up cues and things like that.
Exactly, or like a gravitum, right, or an infernum to just like shred through people or lock them down. That's not going to be the case. So you're looking at two ultimates. However, I think that.
Look at this, like, Fly he's another one of our Zillion boys. You saw that, 66% win rate. That ain't bad. Fake is 100% so far on the Seraphine, so that's definitely good news. Teddy in a similar position. Canna the only one that's not 2-0 outside of Carrier, I guess, but he hasn't actually played any of the Kench so far today. So far this season, I tell a lie.
It makes sense, because why would you put a beautiful playmaker like Carrier on Kench?
True.
Answer is generally you don't want to, but in this scenario I completely get it. What you want to do as T1 is just lane king them in the early game and just deny AFRICA their first 10 minutes of the game. You don't actually need to do anything. I'm not even joking. Like,
I'm glad we brought that
don't lose
that graphic down, because Bang's win rate on the Kai'Sa definitely not something that we want to be talking about as Fly. Trying to get over here and get back into this lane. Currently about half health, as Faker has been punishing him just a little bit. And this might be a very different look to what we saw in our first series of the night, where we were seeing a lot of this Zillion, especially in that first game into the Seraphine.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dread has had, we've talked about this a lot, but had a beautiful developmental curve over the course of the season, right? Like he's gone from can pop off on Olaf and is generally like okay, to legitimately hard carrying in some fashion the early game, or in the last game, the late game, right? Like, not the whole game, unfortunately, because that's more of an AFRICA problem, but he's been super consistent, he's been super good, and I love to see. However, he's no Canyon, because no one is Canyon, because Canyon is the best player, arguably, in the entire world, but definitely the best player in the jungle or in the LCK, and his Hecarim is in a league of its own. So I wonder to what extent Dread is going to have the same impact here. Oh, but this went very wrong the last time.
Yeah, a little bit dangerous, but Fly's just going to speed himself up. He'll be absolutely fine, currently only behind a little bit.
I like this. This is good. This is what you need to do, right? Udyr wins the early duel. You can get into trouble if you don't have prior in your lanes, but Teddy and Carrier, they have control of the wave, right? They're moving up. They've been aggressive ever since level 1, which is great, considering the weakness of Alistar in that position. And Kaz is actually allowed to use that.
Yeah. A lot of priority given over to the Udyr, which is exactly what you need, right?
Yeah.
Top side of the map as well, Canna is really putting on a clinic against this Silas so far. Takes a little bit before the Silas does do what he's intended to do in this matchup. As, it's continuing to go not so good for Kane, who doesn't have a lot of mana either, as Dread's going to make his way and look to try and save this one. Ooh, misses the abduct, unfortunately, but Canna now still trying to get out, not going to be able to. Dread's going to grab that first blood, and the horse off to a great start.
And it's a false sense of security, because look what we see here. We see the ward there in the jungle, and then we also see the vision. So Kana felt like he had the opportunity to just shove up that wave. Clearly not the case.
Well, now Cuz making his way in, wanting to try and deny this, but not going to be able to. Dread actually just having a pretty good time right now. Gives him the good old thumbs up, and Cuz is like, well, I got you out of the jungle, but doesn't really do too much. Hecarim getting any sort of advantage is just so frightening here.
There is one big difference, and this is a pick we've talked about a lot tonight, a similar vein to the Tristana, which is Cuz.
Okay. Kane just going to be fighting him here as Kana made his way back towards the top side. Cuz not too worried about this. He has Franklin form, he'll be fine.
Which is, Tristana has this as well, and I feel like Tristana, like, she was really popular as a counter pick to Kai'Sa initially, but she wasn't as high prio, whereas in something like the LPL, she just basically gets permanently banned.
Yep.
Which is where we're getting at as well, so I like that because...
Okay, that's a flash in from Carrier, but not going to be able to find the Devour onto Lehens. Okay. Still, you trade flashes, I guess, but there is Hex Flash available for Lehens, so maybe not quite as punishing.
It's not. Although I do feel like at least in pre-6, like you now have a window where you can, if you want to, you can go for a gank, right? You can play a little bit more aggressive, so that's nice. But basically, wow, Teddy is just getting plates, and so is Kana on top side. And that is a double the CS that we see here. So
yeah,
yes, the ganks kind of helped, but when it comes to actual pressure, T1 is winning in 2 out of 3 lanes. I guess the jungle, they also have a lead thanks to the early game pressure. So as a whole, this is already looking much more stable. And again, T1, just run out the clock. You don't actually need to do anything. That's okay.
Let's have a look at this one more time. It's just pretty elementary, to be honest. Dread just comes in and kind of flashes. If Duck doesn't matter, there's no way you're peeling yourself away from this horse. I think very easy kill.
I think Keen was like preemptively throwing for like an over-the-wall flash if he went like hop flash.
If he went for it.
Which I mean, imagine if that happened. That would have been
pretty
real
dope.
sick. Yeah, that would have been amazing. Not the case. And the one big difference that we see last time, and the reason why if a Freaks want to go again for an aggressive early Herald play like they have done the last couple of games, is that this time you will get punished, because Teddy has Berserker Grease, and walk up to your turret and like take at the very least 2 plates, possibly more. And that's a big difference with the previous game. And considering the form of Teddy has been within this series, and honestly just in general, outside of that one solo kill...
Ooh, Caliber up now, as it already had the Crescendum, stacking up these Chakrams, as you can see. Teddy getting control of this lane right now, but banging the hens, giving a lot of respect over. As Carrier just wandering around, will end up at least giving over the cannon to Teddy. It does feel like a bit of a waste of Carrier's talents, to be honest, being on Tahm Kench's duty. But he did it a lot when he was playing alongside Deft as well. Sometimes, you know, it just has to happen, right? Even good old Khan on his Scion duty in a lot of his games. It's not exactly what you want to see from a guy that was so good at things like Jace and Fiora. But still, they win a lot of games with it.
If you're a true top laner, you appreciate the sign. You stand there and you're useful. That's
damn
all you
right
need to do. You know, be big, be beefy, and T1, they're going for this Herald, and Lehens maybe thinking about roaming. Fight could break out here.
Yep, Fly moving on over. Faker coming in as well, should be able to make it. As these bombs over in the area. Carrier doesn't have the Abyssal Voyage up, so he's probably not going to make it so far. 3v3. His Bang's still on the bottom side of the map. Teddy's rotating up. Keen picks up a Gnar. There's the big old Gnar into the wall as they're trying to take down Faker. The Encore goes completely wide as Cuz steals away the Rift Herald. And Teddy's just killing Lehens in the mid lane somehow. Good wallop there as Keen is going to get taken down. And remember, this is a fight where the ulti from the Seraphine goes completely wide, but it does not matter. T1 just in a better position to take the fight.
That's a zoning ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
You can get away with that. All jokes aside, it's the rest of T1 that plays it beautifully there. I think that Keen had the right idea, and that's a really high reward play if it does work out, where he goes in, steals the Mega Gnar, and slams him into the wall. However, the problem is, and this is something that we didn't see as much with the Zillion last time, is that your early game damage, if you don't have the double bomb, and even if you do, is not particularly great. Like, look at his itemization. He has a Doran's Ring, tier and boots.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the damage that you need, right? And the Hecarim, at this point in time, while strong, doesn't have the base movement speed and the pressure. So what you see here is that there isn't actually enough damage to immediately take them out. Faker also uses the shield on himself, and then all of a sudden, like, your entire combos have been used. And then Kana is still in Meganar form, and this is also the value of the Meganar, right? Like the resistances that you get, you're basically unduelable. Silas is a melee laner.
Yeah, Faker's just under the turret and he's dead. Bang just pops his passive. Not sure how that happened, but just a bit of a headbutt pole and Faker's dead. Wasn't a teleport, just wandered down there, saw the mini wave,
and died.
Oh.
Interesting.
Sometimes you come back from a replay and a thing happens. As we can see a thing from earlier. This was Lahens getting caught out.
Yeah. So he engaged with Teddy. Teddy eats him up.
Eat him.
And then Teddy's like, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Really appreciate that. Very nice of you. Okay, yeah, so it's just a nice roam or a play from Lahens while Faker gets greedy.
Yep. And bang, Killer Instinct's in.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit too easy. A little bit unfortunate, but sometimes there's a cow.
Sometimes there is a cow. This is actually Lahens has been, I think, in conjunction with Dread, has been like one of the bright spots on this roster, right? I feel like in the beginning of the split it was a little bit rough, but he's really found himself over the course of this. Oh no, not again.
Yeah, Dread's looking for Faker. Fly already has about a 20 CS advantage over the Seraphine right now. Is Dread not quite sure where he is. He decided that he didn't want to go for this one whatsoever. Mountain Drake available. Been up for a while, actually. We're about to tick towards 12.
It's 11 minutes. T1 says completely okay. Take that one if you want to. We're fine with that. No problem. Also, I think that the Rift Herald was used on the mid lane because there's 2 plates gone there.
Yes,
but we didn't
and the money was given over to Teddy as well.
There you go. Did we get to? Did I just completely miss that? Did we get to see
that?
that?
We did see it.
Oh, there you go. No shame on me.
Yep, that's all right. I got you back. That's why why there's 2 of us. You can focus on other things. And to be honest, like, let's be real. You analyst types generally cast off the minimap and nothing else anyway, so I don't blame you for missing what's happening in the mid lane.
Sometimes, yes. Analyst types?
Yeah.
Does that include the Feld analyst?
Of course, yes. And the Atlanalist, if he ever comes around.
Oh my god. Yeah. I've heard the tales.
Yes, well, I did start my career as an analyst. There's a reason why I didn't last very long. Mainly probably because I was just teamfight play calling anyway.
Who had that conversation with you?
Beg your pardon?
Who had that conversation? Who told you maybe you should be a play-by-play? Or was it just you yourself?
Oh no, I started off as a play-by-play, and then when I began my career with Riot in 2014, the other caster that I was casting with was also a play-by-play, and I was the one that sort of bit the bullet and decided to do some color.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
That's sort of how it worked. And then that stopped.
But he is still there.
I mean, theoretically, as carrier, he might not be, as he has a lot of grey health. That's a lot of teleports as well. Good exhaust onto Dread as carrier. He can still get a lot of value here as Canna just gets back. The Phalanx has been reformed. Chrono Shift is very good, but unfortunately the Silence now finds himself in a very rough situation. Now dueling Teddy. If he gets another Kingslayer, and he does, he might be okay, but no, not going to be enough. As Cuz got devoured as well, he's going to be safe in T1. This is what happens, right? This was exactly the value that Seraphine wants to get.
It's already starting, Atlas. Like, we're not even 15 minutes in, and you start to see the value of the Seraphine coming in here. But it's also impeccable play and response from T1. What we saw there was Teddy and Carrier just, I want to see those Devourers again, because normally Tom Kench is not a pick where you go like, oh man, Tom Kench, cool interactive gameplay, what a lot of skill oppression on that one. But in this scenario, it's actually the case. And then the immediate response with a double teleport, and then all of a sudden, instead of a gank with a possible counter gank, this turns into a straight up 5v5, right? And this is the dream for T1, because they don't actually get on top of Teddy. Teddy is fine, uses Graviton to zone away, and then here we get the ultimate, finds 2 people combined with the CC that Canna provides while he's frontlining. And sure, the health bars go low, but the only one getting attacked here are the front line of T1. It's Cuz, Kana, and Carrier taking damage. Sure.
Oh, and Cuz, how did he sub Carrier coming in with the absolute save? Just beautiful. As Canna might be in trouble. Yes, he's just going to be taken down here as Keen still tanking that turret. One more. And Chrono Shift comes out. Not actually quite going to be enough as Lehens may just die. There's a flash smite from Cuz. It's like if you don't have any ranged abilities, use all your summoner spells. Beautiful.
Bear smite.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. I figured it out.
Right.
Every time we get back from a replay, someone on T1 dies.
Well, Bang gonna have to flash because I needed to respect the Devour. Teddy's on the bottom side of the map, and he's just taking down turrets, feeling very good. Currently almost 20 CS in the lead. Untouched on the Aphelios is a very scary prospect, and maybe sometimes you don't need a Thresh because you've got Devour, you've got Seraphine to do all of her Seraphine things. Faking now with his tier largely stacked, as well as his stopwatch sitting in his back pocket and his Moonstone completed.
It's not often we see the Kench unbenched, but when he does, in a position like this, you know, it's working out decently well, and Kana so close to surviving this. Unfortunately, 4 people is a little bit overkill if you're Mega
Yeah,
Knight.
so close to getting his Mega Knight too.
Exactly. If you do get, you know, the Mega Knight here, then you knock him into the wall and Kaz finds 3 kills. But not really working out. I mean, you can choose here as well as Kaz, right? You can smite both.
Yeah.
He went for Key. It's personal, I'll have you know.
It was very, very amusing. Getting a little bit of revenge for his top laner. It was, of course, Keen did get taken down by Dread earlier on. But I'm a bit worried, Chronicler. Like, the only good thing here for AFRICA at the moment is the fact that Fly is so far ahead. Look at his level advantage as well. Like,
oh no.
He's doing very well. That being said, now oh, I've seen this one before. Is this a replay? Is this another? He does get the Mega now this time, but it's not going to be enough. Bang's going to grab that. An Unbreakable Will from Lehens does mean that everyone is able to stay alive.
Yes, but you trade 1 kill and presumably a turret for more gold on Aphelios.
True.
And also
map position and objectives.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. I don't think it's a trade you take, but I'm glad you asked. Is the state of AFRICA right now good? No, it's not, because AFRICA, as we saw in game number 1 and game number 2, are a team which is incredibly dominant when they find the lead, but their setup in the mid to late game, their macro decision making and their objective control has not been great. Even within this series, even with a deserved win, right, and 1 win that they should have gotten but then didn't get. And that in of itself kind of tells the story of AFRICA. They're now at a deficit into a T1, which has a disgusting team composition to fight into. Yes, you have the Zillion. Yes, Keen has a lot of high-value ultimates. And yes, you have a fed Bang, but we've seen these situations happen before. And if it's even remotely close, it's not looking good, because while you have all those things on one side for AFRICA, on the other hand, we have Seraphine.
Yeah.
And I mean, we mean a lot about Seraphine, right? But in this specific type of composition where you are looking, you have the front line, you have a strong front to back, you have characters who are really augmented by her, and you have Teddy, which is one of the best team fighting AD carries, who is fed, as Kana is probably going to die again because he goes mini and he has no business being this far up.
Well, we'll see whether Lehens does pop over and try and stop him here. As you can see, Fly's going to turn up, but I don't know whether that's quite going to be enough. Points for patience here, definitely. For Lehens, as Kerry is just going to spot the cow. Sorry, Canna is going to spot the cow, as there's the headbutt back. Dread is going to turn up, though. And is it going to be 3 deaths very, very quickly? The answer is no, as Cuz is booking it here towards the bottom side. He's going to get stunned up by the Everfrost as the bombs are put down. And that is going to stop the Udyr from being able to move any further forward. That's a very deep teleport coming out from Keen. But all of T1 just move all the way out of the way. This Cloud Drake, T1 say you're welcome to it, and they'll take down this inner turret. Maybe they'll get the inhibitor turret as well.
Chakrams are available. I'm pretty sure they can.
Yeah.
If they want to go for it. It is a risk, though, but they do have a great front to back. I think theoretically they could go for this. They just need to stall a little bit so that the turret is gone.
Yep, they might actually have enough Mega Nut timing as well. They absolutely do. Because now, as long as T1 keep it together, Exactly what they need to do. They need to fight in a ball. That's how Seraphine works so well. There's the Narbak into the dead turret. Bang! Has to use his ult. He has the chrono shift as well, and he's desperately trying to die. Does so. Gets down into that ultimate. Bang now. But, oh no, it's just not enough. Cuz is just going to solo him out there on the back line. And T1, they have a front door open. They can just end the game in almost sub 20 minutes. Teddy, so close to death, but he's alive.
Oh, they don't have a wave. No, they can't. They couldn't.
There's a cow and a horse between them and victory right now. All right, well, we're getting to work on the first Nexus turret. These death timers are not large. 10 seconds on Keen as Dread now with full health back up again. And T1, they take one Nexus turret. Now they're looking to back away.
Listen, I'm not a fan of Tom Kench, but non-ironically, like, Carrier's playing it so well. Because you can see the impunity with which T1 can move up, and that's a beautiful sandwich that they create there, where AFRICA is.
What's the sandwich got in it?
That's a. Okay, I need. Do you want like
a pastrami sandwich, one of the really good pastrami sandwiches?
Sure. Does that?
Oh yeah. I'll show you the place.
Okay.
There's a place just up the road. It's really good.
That sounds lovely. There's, you know, a lot of meat to this composition. I guess Faker is the pickles, you know, like providing that intense flavor.
Oh yeah.
And as long as Teddy's alive, which I guess is your cheese dip.
Who's the bread?
Completely fine. It's Carrier. He's keeping it all
Carrier's
together.
the bread? Yeah, that's okay. I can feel it.
It's Cousin and Carrier, right? Like they sandwich everyone between them.
Is pickle really a sandwich thing though? Like
I don't know.
It sounds like a burger option.
I guess I don't.
I mean, here in Korea we get pickle with everything, so I'm starting to get confused.
You kind of caught me off guard with the sandwich thing. I'm just scrambling for like
You're
reliable...
talking about sandwiches, okay?
Yeah, but sandwiching as in like they are sandwiched between a team and an inhibitor and their base. Not.
Okay.
Wait,
now I get it.
Wait, are you kidding? Are you?
No, I'm definitely kidding.
Oh my god! I don't know. Maybe it's a language barrier.
Yeah, my Australian just didn't quite have me prepared.
Maybe I said something wrong. I don't
know. No. You were fine. I think this actually worked out far better than if you had have just made your point, to be honest.
Well, I tend to agree. As the Baron now gets started up, the health bars are going to stay high. That's the virtue of Seraphine right there. AFRICA, they need this Baron.
Oh, look at T1. They decide not to flip it Baron.
Oh my god.
Hopefully some notes are being taken right now on the other side of the rift, as AFRICA will deal with this super minion wave. And they have to, right? Because with one Nexus turret down, that's actually really important because one wave can actually get through that now. So they need to be forever tidying. That being said, mid lane, definitely the easiest one to keep on top of. But a 6,000 gold lead. We've got a minute and 45 seconds approximately here for T1 until the next Drake is up, and it's an Ocean Soul.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if T1 get it, I don't think that there is any way that AFRICA wins any team fight at all.
Ever. No.
It's too hard.
Non-ironically, I think at that point, if you just put Teddy and Carrier in the lane, you have the rest of AFRICA running, they'll be fine. I don't know the exact math on that one.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain that at that point in time, like the game is pretty much over as AFRICA. But considering the strength of this team, I don't think you want to get to that point. The problem here is this is all or nothing for AFRICA. We gave them They have a 1% chance to basically still make it to playoffs, right? With all the different permutations, everything needs to go right. But in the way of that stance, they need a victory here. There is no losing. If you lose here, you're definitely out of playoffs. The fact that this far into the tournament, we still have runs for playoffs, I think is
That's really cool, right? Yeah.
That's amazing.
We've often seen the final week not really have very much to do with it, but that's absolutely not the case. This is going to be our first team eliminated from playoffs if AFRICA cannot win this game. As Lehen's looking for the wraparound. And we've got 35 seconds. It looks like T1 are just going to go for the Baron instead of even grabbing this Drake. And remember, like, this is just one Ocean Drake. Both teams only have one Dragon so far. The Dragons were actually very, very late. And so T1 don't really need to fight for this one necessarily, as Lehen's is standing on a ward as well. T1 have all the information that they need. And Kana has teleport. He can get here if he wants to, as now Cuz just walking underneath his turret. This is a little bit dangerous, getting slowed down a lot. But yeah, I mean, I say it's dangerous, but he's Udyr, and he's very tanky right now. Moves very quickly. And yes, AFRICA do manage to grab that turret. And now in a better position for this Drake that has just spawned. Looks like they're not going to go for it.
The real problem here is in the top lane, because Kana is legitimately just split pushing as long as he wants to. And I don't think you can get away with both here, ST1, where you pick up the inhibitor and the Baron, or the Drake, but you can definitely get one of them, depending on what AFㅣ does here. They decide to back off, though, and in the end, no one
It's like the
does
dragon
anything.
doesn't exist. Dragon really has been largely ignored
Yeah.
so far. Which is a little bit sad. Okay, Keen just going to throw his Everfrost into this wave and tidies that one up very quickly. Now AFRICA need to get themselves into vision clearing mode. Make sure that T1 can't take any free Barons or anything like that. Faker feeling very comfortable right now with all of the vision they have on the top side of the map. So he can just push another wave forward. So the inhibitor has now respawned and AFRICA can breathe a little bit easier. That being said, not very much easier. Skeen dashes out of the way.
And the problem for me is that unless AFRICA like 100 to 0 someone or Carrier isn't there, as this is a really nice setup with Dang taking that, but they are at threat of getting engaged on.
Yeah, T1 could actually force right now as Cuz looking for the hens. Beat drop, not actually going to connect here as Bang will finish off the Drake. He's taken a little bit of damage, but not too much to worry about, especially with Killer Instinct's shield. As T1 now have the inside track on moving towards this inhibitor, but I think they want to probably break open another lane. Try and add more pressure. Just taking the inhibitor doesn't seem to do too much here as now Cuz comes on over, gets a little bit of a stun onto Lehens, but he's not exactly the priority target here to be taking out first. But T1, I mean, they don't take a lot of damage in these fights as Carrier, that grey health now starting to stack back up. Cannon not going to get slowed down and stunned by the Everfrost. Now Cuz sitting at about 2/3, but that is going to change very quickly. Faker still sitting on that empowered W, he can throw it out whenever he would like to.
And here you see the one weakness of the 2-1 composition. They don't actually have a lot of reliable engage. It's literally Canna running up, or sorry, Cuz running up, or Canna finding a flank with Meganar full. And that's basically it. And that's why you can see AFRICA make these moves, because they do have the go buttons, right? They have both the sped up Hecarim as well as an Alistair, which is as good as it gets in terms of hard engage. And it basically means that all the T1 can do is like go in situations like this, which hopefully should be able to